Hey everyone, this video is just a compilation of all of my Warbond reviews from 2025. That's it. I figured this would be more accessible than a playlist for new viewers. So if you're new to Helldivers 2 and you want some detailed information on all the Warbonds, this is the place to be. And that's pretty much it, so enjoy the video. Steeled Veterans, the original premium Warbond that was released with Helldivers 2 itself. Today, we're going to be taking a look at everything it has to offer, so you can decide if it's worth getting for yourself. I'm sure many people already have this Warbond, it's pretty old, but this is more for new players than it is for anyone else. We are going to get right into it on page 1 with the P4 Senator. I've made it clear in the past that this is one of my favorite weapons in the game. It's the only standard revolver in the entire game right now, so it's a special weapon that is still unmatched for style. It penetrates heavy armor and deals great damage per round. Plus, you can't toss away any rounds because it doesn't use a standard magazine. You only replace the bullets that you actually use, so nothing ever goes to waste. The only real downside is the slow reload time, since you load each round individually, unless you empty all 6 chambers. Then you can use the speed loader. So if you're in combat and you need more rounds, don't reload when you're only half spent. Use the entire cylinder before reloading, and then it's much faster. It acts a lot more like a standard pistol if you do that. The other weapon on page 1 is the AR-23C Liberator Concussive. This is a weapon that has seen many buffs since launch, and it actually does respectable damage now. It does more damage now than the Liberator did at launch. Isn't that crazy? It is actually the only assault rifle that has a drum mag by default, which fits well with its role. It's meant for supporting fire against enemies. It will knock them around and endlessly stagger them, so it's great if you can coordinate well with your group. If you're looking for pure killing power, then this isn't the best choice, but it has a great volume of fire and it's damn fun to shoot. So I consider this to be a fairly underrated weapon. Page 1 also comes with an armor set, the SA-25 Steel Trooper armor set. This is a pretty cool set. It takes the original Helldivers 2 armor design and makes it look much more seasoned.
Mobile infantry made me the man I am today.
This armor comes with the servo-assisted passive, which allows you to throw grenades and stratagems further, while giving you increased limb health, which makes sense. You're already missing some limbs after all. It's a pretty good passive, but it can be hard to adjust to the increased throwing distance. Sometimes you might throw something too far or not far enough. You end up overcompensating or undercompensating a lot of the time. It actually makes a lot of sense thematically. It's like you're actually getting used to your new limbs. You just better hope that you don't get any phantom pain. I hear that it's like having an invisible arm. This video was fact-checked by real American Patriots. Page 1 also has the Super Person Victory Pose. I just like it a lot. Very triumphant, very cheesy, very cool. Now it's time for page 2, so we're gonna look at the G10 Incendiary Grenade. This is a really solid grenade. It lacks initial explosive damage, but you can set an area on fire and damage enemies over time. Since fire can penetrate heavy armor, you can use it against most enemies in the game. It also has enough destruction force to destroy buildings like bug holes and fabricators, so you could effectively replace the default grenade with this if you want to. This is a great pick for pretty much any loadout, and it's pretty versatile. Page 2 also has its own armor set, the SA-12 Servo-Assisted armor set. It is functionally identical to the Steel Trooper set from page 1, but it still looks great. The helmet is awesome. It looks like it's straight out of Halo Reach. But beyond the cosmetic differences, there's not much to talk about since I already explained the armor passive. There's nothing to talk about beyond how cool it looks. Page 2 also comes with a primary weapon, the SG-22IE Breaker Incendiary. This shotgun adds on to the theme of page 2 being fire-based, and it's one of my favorite incendiary weapons in the game. It fires a wide spread of incendiary pellets with each shot, pelting any enemies in sight and lighting them on fire. The damage is nothing to scoff at either. If you're up close and you can hit most of your shots on somebody, it's gonna hurt them really bad. Now, it is limited to 3-round burst, but if you feather it correctly, you can pretty much achieve the same result as a fully automatic shotgun. This is a great option for taking out hordes of smaller enemies, so pick it up if you like playing against the bugs or the Illuminate. Page 2 also has the Roll 'em victory pose. I like this pose because I can pretend to gamble in Helldivers instead of losing my money in real life. Roll them bones. Let us move on to page 3, where we have the Flexible Reinforcement Budget Booster. This booster decreases the amount of time it takes to regenerate reinforcements when you run out. Honestly, this has never been a good booster in my opinion. It's super niche and it's rarely going to be useful. This booster relies on you nearly failing your mission to take effect, so while it can be considered a nice safety net for some people, I would rather take something that can have a long-lasting effect during the entire mission, something that can prevent me from ever needing a booster like this in the first place. That's all just my opinion though. If this booster works for you, then I'm glad, I'm happy for you. Page 3 also has our final weapon, the Jar 5 Dominator. The Dominator is a pretty unique weapon. It fires jet-propelled rounds that travel slowly through the air, but deal big damage when they connect with the target. It's a very hefty and slow weapon. It's not great for dealing with large groups of smaller enemies. It's better for dealing with larger enemies one at a time. It penetrates medium armor, so it's good against most enemies, and the damage is there to back up that penetration. It does quite a good amount of damage with every shot, and it can one-shot a lot of different enemies with ease. Overall, this is a fun weapon that is pretty different from the others, so it's a fun addition to this Warbond. Page 3 also has our final armor set, the SA-32 Dynamo armor set. This is actually different from the other sets because it is a heavy armor set, so you get some extra protection, but of course, you're gonna be a lot slower if you wear it. It has a great look to it. I like the color palette they went with. The bandolier looks awesome and the helmet is great. It also looks like it's right out of Halo. This is a cool armor set if you enjoy the servo-assisted passive and you like heavy armor. I like heavy armor myself, so this is right up my alley. And finally, we have the Your Next Victory Pose. Well, there's not much to say about that, is there? Overall, Steeled Veterans is a well-rounded Warbond. You get some good weapons, some cool armor, and the various cosmetics that come with all of that. And of course, you get 300 super credits for your trouble. The only real problem with this Warbond is the booster. The only time it's worth taking is if you're joining a mission that is already going wrong, but the game doesn't tell you how the mission is going before you hit the ground, and even then, you might not even get a lot of use out of it. But still, it's 1,000 credits for 5 weapons, 3 armor sets, and all of those cosmetics, the capes, the cards, the emotes, all of that. It is a great value, and if you're not sure what Warbond you want to buy, then this is worth taking a look at. It's not one of the essential Warbonds, but it's got some pretty great weapons that are also really fun to use, and that is what you want in a Warbond. Cutting Edge, the second Warbond ever added to Helldivers 2. It featured the most advanced technology in the game at the time. Nowadays, we have Warbonds like Control Group, but this is the OG Warbond for people that like lasers and plasma. We're going to take a look at each page of this Warbond, talking about the different items it provides and how effective they really are. We are getting started at page 1 with the Localization Confusion Booster. This booster is honestly pretty underrated. I don't see people taking it at all these days. Really, I think that's because some boosters are too good not to take. Some of them just feel essential, but that's a topic for another time. To understand localization confusion, first we have to understand how encounters work in Helldivers 2. According to the Helldivers wiki, an encounter is another name for a bot drop, bug breach, or incoming Illuminate ships. Whenever an encounter is triggered, a timer starts, ranging from 2 to 5 minutes, depending on the difficulty. Another encounter cannot be triggered until this timer runs out. Localization confusion increases this time by 15%, and has been demonstrated to increase the timer by at least 30 seconds on higher difficulties, meaning that's 30 more seconds without an encounter being called. As you can see, this is a great booster if you find yourself being overwhelmed by enemy encounters. It means that you'll be dealing with fewer bot drops and fewer bug tunnels and fewer Illuminate ships. Remember that this has no effect on other enemy spawns. Natural spawns and patrols are not affected by this booster at all, so don't expect it to do much when you're assaulting an enemy base or defending extraction. It's still very good though, and I recommend taking it if you're having problems with the volume of enemies in a mission. Page 1 also has the LAS-16 sickle. Once upon a time, this was my favorite weapon in the game, and I still really like it because it's very fun to shoot. But unfortunately, it's fallen out of favor with me recently. Ever since we started to get a lot of buffs around September last year, the sickle has been somewhat forgotten. While it does have the benefit of being an energy weapon, meaning that you never need to reload unless you overheat, the damage is far below the current standards of automatic weapons. Plus, it only has a light armor pen, making it difficult to use against some enemies. There are reasons to use it. It's energy-based and is a very entertaining weapon, but it is hard to ignore that there are better options out there. This weapon deserves better, in my opinion. It's too damn fun to not do enough damage. Page 1 also comes with an armor set, the EX03 Prototype 3 armor set. This armor set is pretty neat. The beige coloring might put some people off, but personally I like it. It fits in well with desert environments. We definitely need the ability to change our armor color, but that's a topic for another video. This armor set is your first chance to use the armor passive that comes with Cutting Edge, Electrical Conduit. It's super straightforward. It provides 95% damage resistance to arc damage. It really doesn't get simpler than that. This makes it great for fighting the Illuminate. I can't tell you how many times I have turned a corner only to run head first into an Illuminate Tesla tower. It also makes your own Tesla towers less deadly, of course, so you can call one in right on top of yourself and hide in the arc radius while it kills everything else around you. Overall, this is a pretty niche armor passive. It's hyper specific with what it actually provides, but it's extremely effective in that niche. If you have a friend that keeps killing you with their arc weapons, bring this armor and get a new friend. Page 1 also has the head tap victory pose. Pretty ironic pose for a Helldiver to make, considering I don't think any of us can read. That is supported by the comments on my video. Time for page 2. We're gonna start off with the shotgun show victory pose. I like this pose. It's pretty funny, and the oddly choppy animation makes it funnier. The armor set for page 2 is the EX16 Prototype 16. This armor set is almost identical to the armor set from page 1. Not only are they functionally identical, they are very similar visually, with some parts of the armor being identical to one another. The helmet is very different, but the armors are very similar. If you prefer green over beige, then you will prefer this set over the last one, and vice versa. They're the exact same armor set functionally. They're both medium armor with the electrical conduit passive, but one's green and one's beige. Next up, we have the G23 stun grenade. The stun grenade is fine. It does exactly what you expect it to do, and it does it pretty well. It can be hard to justify taking a grenade that deals no damage, but I understand why someone would take the stun grenade and like it. It gives you room to breathe during a fight, and you can use it without worrying about your teammates. You won't injure them with this grenade at all. You can't team kill with it. There is one major problem I have with the stun grenade though, and that is the limited inventory of stun grenades you can carry. If we're able to carry 5 frag grenades and 6 pyrotech grenades, then why can we only carry 4 stuns? Balance-wise, this makes no sense. You should be carrying at least 6 stuns, maybe even 7 or 8. That would make it a much more viable choice, and I bet it would make a lot of players take them more often. It wouldn't break the meta either. 8 stuns wouldn't destroy the game or anything, it would just make stuns better and more viable, so I hope they change that at some point. The last item on page 2 is the SG-8P Punisher Plasma. I never get tired of saying that name. This is another really fun weapon, which unfortunately has some issues that need to be sorted out. It fires a ball of plasma, which deals damage in a small radius and penetrates medium armor, but the damage isn't anything special. It should do a bit more damage than it does right now. It takes a lot of effort to land every single shot perfectly, and you should be rewarded for that. Overall, it's a mostly average weapon with some unique qualities and a couple of standout features. It has area of effect damage, it penetrates medium armor, it has great stagger, it reloads fast, it just feels a little underwhelming to use. If it had just a bit more damage, then it would be pretty great in my opinion. Now for our final page, page 3, and I'm starting off page 3 with the Laz 7 Dagger. This is the original energy-based secondary. It's essentially just a smaller version of the Laz 5 Scythe that fits in your pocket. The beam itself only penetrates light armor, but it can build up heat on enemies, meaning that it can set enemies on fire from long range, and that is a luxury. I like to use this weapon with other energy weapons, so you can switch back and forth between them instead of having to reload anything at all. The dagger won't give you perfect damage in an instant, but it will give you solid damage over time, and with pretty great range for a secondary. Next up, we have the Arc 12 Blitzer. I haven't always been a big fan of this weapon. I've had problems using it effectively in the past, but I've been warming up to it recently. It's essentially an arc thrower shotgun for the primary slot, so it has infinite ammo and the ability to stun enemies. I don't think it's good against the bots. It can struggle against the Illuminate in some situations, but it's great against the bugs. The Blitzer has limited range, meaning that it's best used against melee enemies, and that means bugs for the most part. It's really fun to shoot. It reminds me of playing as the Dark Trooper from the original Battlefront games, if anyone knows what I'm talking about. All you need is a jump pack and you can replicate that pretty well. Anyways, it's really effective at close range and against medium armored enemies, so it's not useful in every mission, but when it is useful, it's pretty great. Combine this with a guard dog and you're pretty much set up to do anything against the bugs. Cutting Edge also comes with a third armor set, the EX00 Prototype X. This armor set is actually different from the first two because it is light armor instead of medium armor. So if you want electrical conduit on a set of light armor, then this is the set for you. Visually, it's pretty cool. The helmet is definitely my favorite part. And finally, I've saved the best for last, the presentable victory pose. There's not much to say about this one, is there? In conclusion, Cutting Edge is a pretty average Warbond. There is some cool armor sets with a decent passive. There are some very unique weapons that are pretty useful in the right situations. The booster is one of a kind, very useful on higher difficulties. I recommend Cutting Edge to anyone that wants something a bit different from a Warbond, there are Warbonds that are more useful, and you should probably get those first. But this is a solid Warbond from the early days. Cutting edge, is worth the time and money that you may put into it. Anytime a new player asks the question, what is the best Warbond? The answer is almost always one thing: democratic detonation. But why do people always recommend this Warbond in particular? Today, we're going to take an in-depth look at each of the items that democratic detonation has to offer, because it is packed with some insanely powerful stuff that any diver would want. We're starting off at page 1, with our first item being the G123 Thermite. This is almost worth the price of admission by itself. It's insanely useful against armored enemies and buildings. Basically, this is a grenade that sticks to surfaces, burns through armor, and explodes, dealing massive damage with incredible armor penetration. You can stick it to things like chargers or hulks, and that will kill them with a single use of thermite. As an avid bot diver, I fight a lot of armored enemies, and this is an armor-killing machine, and it fits right in your pocket. It's probably my most used grenade in the game at this point. Thermite is not a conventional grenade though. It's not good for killing groups of enemies, or, any light enemies. It's not good for taking out a bunch of troopers or whatever. It is a special piece of equipment that is meant for armored targets, buildings and enemies alike. Use it correctly, and it will never fail you. Page 1 also comes with the BR-14 Adjudicator. As far as automatic weapons go, this is a heavy hitter. It deals great damage per round, with medium armor penetration, but it does have some drawbacks. It has a considerable amount of recoil for an assault rifle. This can be mitigated by leveling up the weapon and unlocking better attachments, but when you first get your hands on the Adjudicator, it may seem unwieldy because it will be not at its peak performance when you first get it. It also has the lowest magazine capacity of any assault rifle. This cannot be changed. There is no magazine customization for this weapon at all. So this rifle is for those that can shoot straight and hit their targets. You only have so many rounds, only 30 per magazine, so you need to make them count. But each round hits hard enough to make up for the lack of ammo. It's not great against hordes of enemies, but it is great for picking off medium-sized enemies 1 or 2 at a time. It is a more precise weapon, but I do like it a lot. It is a very fun assault rifle to use, and it feels really good to hit enemies with it. Page 1 also comes with an armor set, the CE-27 Groundbreaker armor set. This is one of my favorite armor sets in the game. It just looks so cool. It has the core Helldivers 2 design elements, but with an awesome gas mask, and I love a good gas mask. This armor also comes with a great passive, which is the Engineering Kit passive. It gives you 2 more of whatever grenade you may have selected, so this goes great with thermite, seeing as you can only carry 3 thermite by default. It's also great with frag grenades. You can carry 5 frags by default, so this passive lets you carry 7 frag grenades at once. That is 7 grenades you can use against enemies and their buildings. Can you imagine how many bug holes you can close with that many grenades? That's right, 7. Engineering Kit also reduces your recoil when you're crouching or proning, making it great for posting up with a machine gun and unloading on enemies from a distance. As IGN would say, this passive has a little something for everyone. Before we leave page 1, I have to mention the squat victory pose. Now I see why Tarkov copied the Helldivers salute. It's because Arrowhead has been over here appropriating their culture all along. Now we're going to move on to page 2, and we're starting off page 2 with the CE-07 Demolition Specialist armor set. This armor set is pretty great. It's light armor, but not super light armor. It still has a bit more armor rating than some other light armor sets do, and I'm glad we have sets like this that bridge the gap between light and medium armor classes. It's pretty cool looking too. I like the helmet a lot. It reminds me of something straight out of the Old Republic, so stop by the Imperial Fleet sometime because you just might catch me there. Page 2 also has the Expert Extraction Pilot Booster. This booster isn't really that great, I'm just gonna be honest. It reduces the amount of time it takes for Pelican 1 to reach the extraction zone by 30%. The default extraction timer is 2 minutes, so this booster reduces it to 1 minute and 24 seconds. If the Complex Stratagem Plotting modifier is active, the timer is 3 minutes by default, and the booster reduces that to 2 minutes and 6 seconds. This booster is only effective in the closing minute before a mission ends. Unless it's really important for you to shave off less than a minute from your mission, then this booster is pretty much useless to most players. However, this booster is very useful for an achievement. That achievement is called Gone in 360 Seconds, and it's pretty much an achievement where you complete a mission and extract within 6 minutes, if that wasn't obvious enough. So, if you're looking to 100% Helldivers 2, then yes, this is useful to some degree, but otherwise, just forget about it. There is also a primary weapon on page 2, and that weapon is the R-36 Eruptor. The Eruptor is one of the coolest and most unique weapons in the entire game. It is a massive, bolt-action rifle that fires off jet-propelled rounds that are packed to the fucking brim with shrapnel. Each round travels very slowly, but when that shot connects, it packs a massive punch, penetrating heavy armor on impact, dealing tons of damage to the target, and spreading shrapnel everywhere around the area of impact. It's somehow the best sniper in the game, despite not even being formally classed as a sniper rifle. I mean, no weapon is a sniper anymore because they moved the accelerator to the energy category, but I digress. The Eruptor is very hard to handle. It's slow and weighty. The projectiles are extremely slow, but if you can master it, it's a fantastic weapon, and it's also just really fun. It's really fun to land in the middle of a group of enemies. You can take out a dozen or more in a single shot. It's glorious. Page 2 also comes with a victory pose. The Courtly Bow victory pose. As a gentleman myself, I approve of this victory pose. Excuse me for a minute. Time for page 3. It's the FS55 Devastator armor set. This is another one of my favorite armor sets. I love the look of it. It reminds me a lot of like bomb defusal suits, like those juggernauts from the old COD games. As you can tell, this is heavy armor. And heavy armor plus the fortified passive makes you extremely resistant to explosives. You can just tank missiles to the face and get back up like nothing happened, or throw grenades around with abandon and not worry about getting blown up. So yeah, I can recommend this one pretty well. Page 3 also comes with a secondary weapon, and that weapon is the GP31 grenade pistol. This is one of the all-time great secondaries. It brings unparalleled utility to every mission you bring it on. It's essentially an impact grenade fired from a handheld device. This lets you destroy things like bug holes and illuminate ships really easy. Plus, it's great for taking out small groups. It does some good damage with some decent area of effect. It combos well with thermite grenades. Since the grenade pistol can fill the role of a conventional grenade, you can have the best of both worlds when you equip thermite. The grenade pistol has so much to love about it. You can refill it with ammo boxes, you get a lot of charges for it. The high velocity makes it easy to explode things at a distance. Once you get your hands on it, you'll understand why it's so good. It's a top tier secondary. The final weapon in Democratic Detonation is the famous CB9 exploding crossbow. The crossbow is one of the best explosive weapons in the game. It's definitely one of the best primaries if you just want to blow shit up. It penetrates medium armor, it deals great damage on impact, and does great damage in a small radius too. It's great against every faction. It can deal with medium-sized enemies really well, and it can destroy small groups in just a few shots. Plus, you can still hold it with just one hand, so if you're carrying an objective item or holding a shield, you can still use it to maximum effect. It's definitely my favorite one-handed weapon in the game. The crossbow is just another one of the great weapons that Democratic Detonation has to offer, and I think it's a big reason as to why people call this the best Warbond in the game. But we can't finish this video without mentioning the Boxer victory pose. Listen, I appreciate your enthusiasm, but I want to share a quote from my childhood that I think is relevant for this boxing gentleman.
Save it for the enemy!
In conclusion, Democratic Detonation really is one of the best Warbonds in the game, if not the best Warbond in Helldivers 2. The weapons are fun, and they give you unique tactical opportunities in missions. The armor looks great, and they have great passives. 2 different passives, in fact. You get Engineering Kit, and you get Fortified from different sets in this Warbond. You get a total of 5 weapons, 3 armor sets, and a bunch of cosmetics for 1,000 super credits. And of course, you get 300 credits back. The variety and quality of the items in this Warbond is pretty much unmatched to this day. And yes, I do recommend this to any new players that buy the Super Citizen Edition or have just saved up enough for their first Warbond. Or hell, even if you still haven't gotten it, you should get it now. Buy Democratic Detonation. It's fun, it's great, and it comes with a lot of content. This is one of the best bang for your buck Warbonds in the whole game. There is so much to love about this Warbond. You get an assault rifle, one of the best grenades, 2 primary explosive weapons, and a secondary explosive weapon. That is just insane. Polar Patriots, the 4th premium Warbond to be added to Helldivers 2. It is a pretty interesting one in hindsight, because it comes with a lot of gear that I really enjoy, but it doesn't stick out in my mind like some of the other Warbonds. Even the Warbonds that I don't think are really good are more memorable than this one. But why is that? Let's take a look at the items in the Warbond and find out why nobody really talks about it. Starting off on page 1, we have the CW36 Winter Warrior armor set. This armor set is really cool. It reminds me a lot of various trooper armors from Star Wars, and I'm obviously a big fan of that look. This is a heavy armor set with the servo-assisted armor passive. This passive gives you better throwing range for grenades and stratagems, while also giving your limbs more health. Even though this armor set is really cool looking, it's functionally identical to the SA-32 Dynamo set from Steeled Veterans, so keep that in mind. So if you already own Steeled Veterans, keep in mind that this armor set in particular is totally redundant, gameplay-wise. Page 1 also comes with the AR-61 Tenderizer Assault Rifle. This weapon is pretty much the battle rifle from Halo, but with adjustable firing modes and adjustable fire rate. If you crank up the fire rate to 850 and set it to burst, it's just the battle rifle from Halo. It even looks the same. This does the most raw damage out of any assault rifle in the game per round, with light armor penetration and very controllable recoil. This is one of my favorite light pen weapons. It's satisfying to shoot, and it's very good if you know where to aim on certain enemies. The only real downside to this weapon is the magazine size. It's 10 rounds smaller than the standard Liberator. But again, the Tenderizer does more damage per round, so you can pump out damage much faster, so it kinda evens out in the end. Page 1 is also home to the booster in Polar Patriots, the Motivational Shocks booster. This booster makes you recover faster from slowing effects. This could be pretty much any slowing effect in the game. Environmental conditions like tremors fall into this category, and so do environmental hazards like ice plants or bug mines. Certain enemy attacks like ranged bile spewer attacks also have a slowing effect, so this booster is effective against them. This booster is very, very situational. It really depends on what faction you're going up against and on what planet. If you're on a planet with no environmental hazards that can slow you, and you're against like the bots for example, this is pretty much useless. But if you're against the bugs on a planet with tremors, then it could really come in handy. So think twice before you take this one into a mission. Page 1 also comes with the Mime Instrumentation Victory Pose. This is just a great pose, that's pretty much it. Now we're going to get into page 2, starting off with the CW22 Kodiak Armor Set. This is another heavy armor set, but instead of having servo assisted as a passive, it comes with Fortified, which gives you recoil reduction when crouch or prone, and gives you 50% reduction to explosive damage. Visually, it's really cool. It has those yellow stripes that the Helldivers are known for, while also having camo patterns along the clothed parts of the armor. The helmet is awesome. It looks like a weird crossbreed between a Helldiver and a TIE fighter pilot, at least in my opinion. Functionally, this armor is nothing special. You can get a heavy armor set with Fortified on the second page of Helldivers Mobilize, so pretty much everyone already has armor that functions identically to this one. So the only real reason to buy it is for the looks, and that's kind of a theme with this Warbond. Page 2 also comes with a primary, the SMG-72 Pummeler machine gun. The Pummeler is to submachine guns what the Liberator Concussive is to assault rifles. It fires slower than any other SMG, and it doesn't have a lot of damage to back that up. But the reason you would use this weapon is for the concussive rounds. I think the biggest advantage of the Pummeler is the ability to use it one-handed, so you can hold a shield and use it at the same time, pretty much playing as like a traditional kind of MMO tank role in Helldivers 2. And there's really not a lot else you can say about this weapon. It can be fun to use, but it's just not that good. I would rather use pretty much any other SMG, and honestly pretty much any other one-handed weapon in the game. Next up, we have the G13 Incendiary Impact. This grenade is pretty self-explanatory. You throw it, it touches something, explodes, and spreads fire in that area. It's a great option for some instant area denial. You can instantly set fire to whatever area you want on a whim. So this is great if you're being chased by enemies and you really want them off your ass quickly. Not to mention that fire penetrates heavy armor and builds up on pretty much any enemy, so you can use this against almost anything in the game. If we're talking about the bugs or the Illuminate, then I actually like this one a lot more than the default impact grenade. It's really good against a crowd of smaller enemies. It functions really well as area denial against melee enemies, and it's still an impact grenade, so you can still just chuck it into a bug hole or an Illuminate ship and take it out pretty fast. Our final item for page 2 is the Call the Helldivers Victory Pose. Call the judge and get some fudge. Time for page 3, and on page 3 we have the CW4 Arctic Ranger armor set. This is a super light armor set, only 50 armor, which means that it has the best speed and the best stamina regen bonuses that you can get in the game. It comes with the Scout passive. When you place markers on the map, they will give you radar pings, letting you scan anywhere on the map for enemies, no matter where you are. This also makes you much harder to detect, making it the perfect passive for a stealth build. The armor itself is very visually appealing. It looks like something right out of Star Wars. It reminds me of the Galactic Marines or the Snow Troopers, which I think was probably intentional. It is called the Arctic Ranger armor set after all. The color scheme is very unique as well, which might put some people off, but I like it well enough. It does make an argument for color customization on armor though. Overall, this is a very solid armor for the Scout passive. The default Scout armor I think comes with 70 armor, so this is different than the original set you get from Helldivers Mobilize, and it's just kind of a cool armor set. This is definitely my favorite armor set from this whole Warbond. Page 3 comes with yet another primary. This time it's the Plaz 101 Purifier. This is a very powerful energy weapon in the right hands. It's very similar to the Plaz 1 from the last page of Helldivers Mobilize, but there are some key differences. The Purifier has lower ammo capacity and weaker shots if you tap fire. It also has the ability to charge shots before firing, increasing the damage and the area of effect by a dramatic amount. The Purifier also has a staggering 6,000 RPM if you choose to tap fire. meaning that you can spend all of your ammo in less than a second if you're fast enough. You can just delete pretty much any medium pen enemy in the entire game. I believe, and I've read before, that this is due to someone fat fingering their keyboard. The fire rate is set to 0.01 seconds when it should be 0.1 seconds. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but that's what I've read, and that it's just a mistake. This is great for emergency situations when you need damage dealt to an enemy right away. The Purifier is like a more nuanced version of the Scorcher. The Scorcher is incredibly easy to pick up and use effectively, but if you're good with the Purifier, you can do some crazy shit. So yeah, I definitely recommend the Purifier for anyone who is a big fan of like these plasma energy weapons. Page 3 also comes with the P113 Verdict. This is a really solid sidearm, and one of my personal favorite secondary weapons in the game. It fires 14mm rounds, and if you know anything about guns and bullets, that's higher than 50 cal. So it packs a mean punch and penetrates medium armor. This thing is just a hand cannon. It's really fun to shoot, and it's just an all-around good pick for a sidearm. Some people would say that the Talon outshines this weapon, and they really wouldn't be wrong, but I would still take the Verdict over most sidearms in the game. It's super fun, it's damn useful, I mean, it's satisfying to shoot, it's pretty much everything you'd want out of a standard pistol. And finally, we have the Distribute Ballots Victory Pose. This is one of my favorite poses. It's great, and that's all there is to say about it. In conclusion, I think that the best way to describe Polar Patriots is solid, but not outstanding. It's not very unique at all. It doesn't even have its own armor passive, but it offers some pretty great weapons, some really cool looking armor, and some very fun victory poses. This Warbond should not be a priority, in my opinion. It doesn't offer anything truly unique. It doesn't give you brand new tactical opportunities like, Democratic Detonation does, or Freedom's Flame, or hell, even Chemical Agents. It doesn't give you anything truly unique. It almost feels like an expansion of Helldivers Mobilize. A lot of the gear in this is really basic stuff. But if you want more basic gear to choose from, more standard assault rifles, more pistols, a good plasma weapon, then this is a great choice. But if you want something super different from what you already have, this just isn't the Warbond for you. But what do you think about Polar Patriots? Do you own it? What do you think about it? Are you waiting to buy this last, or are you going to buy it soon? Let me know in the comments below, because this is a pretty interesting one. It's kind of underrated, but it's also understandably not in the conversation of great Warbonds for new players. It's not there. Viper Commandos. An inspired, but also a somewhat strange addition to the massive collection of Helldivers 2 Warbonds. It comes with a good selection of items, but the items range from excellent to downright trash. So we're going to take a look at each page of this Warbond so that you guys can decide if it's worth picking up for yourselves, or if you already own this Warbond, then we can have a good discussion about it in the comments. We are getting started on page 1 with the AR-23A Liberator Carbine. This weapon is extremely similar to the standard Liberator. They fire the same ammo, and they have the same magazine size by default, but the Liberator Carbine has a much faster fire rate, and a different sight by default. I wasn't a big fan of this weapon until we got weapon customization. That's when everyone, including myself, started grinding out XP to unlock the drum magazine and some foregrips. Now, this weapon is a fan favorite. People have started calling it the small wart, as in small stalwart, of course. If you have time to grind out the levels and get all the attachments, then this is an insanely good weapon that can absolutely pump out damage with little to no recoil. If you don't want to grind though, then the standard Liberator will be just fine for you. The only real downside to the standard Liberator is just fire rate, and that's it. Page 1 also has the PH9 Predator armor set. I think this Warbond has the most unique armor in the game, mainly because it was the only armor in the game that actually showed your character's skin, at least until Servants of Freedom came out. I think it's a great look. The sleeveless armor combined with the camouflage, it's great. It's clearly inspired by movies like Commando and Predator, and the whole sleeveless military look is inspired by American soldiers in Vietnam as well. I think the helmet is one of the coolest designs in the game. Everything about it is badass. You got the skeleton, jaw, and the beret. And you can make it look good on multiple sets of armor too, which isn't very common in Helldivers 2. The armor passive in this Warbond is Peak Physique, which gives you better weapon handling and doubles your melee damage. The weapon handling is a decent perk. It's good for people that like to play close quarters, or for anyone that uses exceptionally heavy weapons like the Eruptor or the HMG. The melee damage is a far more interesting perk though, because this applies to all sources of melee damage. That includes quick melee, melee weapons, bayonets, and even the kick emote from Urban Legends. Having double the melee damage makes melee weapons much more appealing and almost makes them semi-viable, but they still don't hold a candle to other secondaries in my opinion. But with this passive, they are a decent enough option if you need to defend yourself in a pinch. And of course, melee weapons are reliable. You don't need to reload an axe or a sword. So while I would not recommend this passive for being efficient on high difficulties, it is still unique, and it gives you some interesting buffs that you can't get anywhere else. So it's pretty cool and pretty fun. It's just not my favorite, that's all. Page 1 also has the Welcome Adoration Victory Pose. This victory pose, it reminds me of something. I just can't seem to put my finger on it. Now, let's take a look at page 2. And we're starting off page 2 with the SG-22 Bushwhacker. This is currently the only secondary shotgun in Helldivers 2, and it's a very unique weapon. It is a triple barrel, break action, sawed-off shotgun, so this weapon has a lot going for it. It fires 10-gauge buckshot shells, which is the exact same ammo that the Punisher uses. So for a secondary, this is pretty strong, but the Bushwhacker is sawed off after all. The pellets go flying everywhere, so the only way to effectively use it is to barrel stuff the enemy and pull the trigger. This makes it a good option for defending yourself when an enemy gets too close for comfort. You can whip out your Bushwhacker and instantly deal some really good damage for a secondary weapon. There's also an alternate firing mode that allows you to fire all 3 barrels at once. This deals insane amounts of damage, but of course, since you're firing all barrels, you can only use it once before reloading, so make sure you use it wisely. Overall, the Bushwhacker is a really fun secondary, and it's much more useful than people will give it credit for. It's really cool, and I like to use it against the bugs a lot. Page 2 also has an armor set, the PH-202 Twig Snapper armor set. This armor is much more my style. I'm a big fan of heavy armor, and they still managed to make it look nice and fit the themes of the Warbond, so that's pretty awesome. It looks big and bulky, very nice, and the helmet is really cool too. Kinda looks like the Republic troopers from Star Wars The Old Republic, and I'm a big fan of that look. The only real problem I have with this armor, and both armor sets in this Warbond, is that the camo doesn't look good on most planets. It looks really out of place on most planets, and it kind of irritates me. It's like when you're playing Battlefront 2 and you see someone playing Endor Leia on Hoth. It's just wrong. It's against nature. So this armor makes a really good case for armor pattern customization. If you could give this armor, urban camo or desert camo, then that would be awesome. I would love that. And I hope that armor customization comes out sooner rather than later, but you know what? I'm willing to wait for something good. Page 2 also has the Guns of Liberty victory pose. This is the best pose for when you join at the end of a mission, do nothing, and extract. You gotta show off those guns. Now we are gonna move on to page 3, and we're starting off page 3 with the Experimental Infusion Booster. This booster is really, really good. I use it all the time, and I think it's the best part of this Warbond. It gives a big buff to your stims. Using a stim with this booster equipped will increase your movement speed and reduce damage taken by 10% each. It might not sound like a lot, but you will notice a difference when you're using it. The movement speed boost feels great, especially if you need to get somewhere fast and you're relying on stims for extra stamina. So it's great for sprinting out to recover lost gear or samples, and it's great for credit farming. The damage resistance is great too. You can end up surviving some more dangerous situations than before. The only downside to this booster is the increased weapon sway when you're drugged up. It will increase weapon sway by 25% after you take a stim, but it's not a huge deal, and it's worth trading that for the other benefits that you get from these stims. So yes, I absolutely recommend this booster. This is how boosters should be balanced in Helldivers 2. It's not essential, it's not a must-have, but you feel the impact when you use it, and it's awesome to use. Page 3 also comes with the Viper Commando title. This was the first Warbond that ever added a title as a reward, so this was very unique for the time. And Viper Commando is a pretty cool title to have. Every Warbond after this would also include a title as a reward, and honestly, they should go back and add titles to the Warbonds before Viper Commandos. They did that for the FRV patterns, so it would make sense to do it for titles as well. The final weapon that comes with Viper Commandos is the K2 throwing knife. I've said it 100 times before, the throwing knife is bad. It sucks. It's a really cool idea, but it's just bad. Your Helldiver throws it like a wet noodle. Worse than a wet noodle. I could throw a wet noodle straight, but you can't throw these things straight. They fly off to the left and usually don't land anywhere near where you're targeting. They do shitty damage when you consider the effort you put in to make it work. You do get 20 of them, and that's really the saving grace of this weapon. That is by far the most throwables you can carry in the whole game. But you can't even pick them back up after throwing them. You need to resupply yourself with these shitty little toothpicks. I'm sure that someone out there is a huge fan of them. That's fine, you're entitled to your opinion. My opinion is that they suck, and they need some big changes to actually be worth using. This is by far the worst item in the whole Warbond, and one of the worst items in any Warbond ever released. Just my opinion, but god damn, these things suck. And our final item is the Test of Conviction emote. This emote is hilarious because it appears to last for an indefinite amount of time, so you could just sit there, hand in hand with another diver, until one of you gets sick of it. And it is definitely inspired by this famous scene from Predator, so it fits perfectly with this Warbond and its themes. This is also great for setting up cool screenshots, and now we just need a photo mode in Helldivers 2. That would be great. In conclusion, Viper Commandos is a pretty good Warbond, and it's only gotten better over time. When it came out, there were no melee weapons, and no weapon customization, and the throwing knives were even worse than they are now, so it was massively downgraded compared to where it is now. Honestly, when it came out, I thought it really sucked. But despite the improvements it's seen over the past year or so, I still wouldn't say that it's an essential Warbond for new players. It's pretty good, but there are other Warbonds you should get first if you just got the game. There are some standout items, like Experimental Infusion and the Liberator Carbine, but unfortunately, you do need to grind for the Carbine to be really, really good. And some of the other items are really not that good at all. The throwing knives suck, and I wouldn't use the vehicle patterns on most maps. They don't fit on most maps because of the, the woodland camouflage they have on. This Warbond was also very important for the future of Warbonds as a whole. It was the first premium Warbond to add vehicle patterns, and emote, and a title as rewards. Those have become staples of new Warbond releases since Viper Commandos came out. So, anyways, I think Viper Commandos is a good choice if you already have a few Warbonds and you're wondering what to get next. It's pretty fun, it's pretty cool, it has some cool stuff, it's not essential, but it is good enough to consider getting. Freedom's Flame. At the time, this was a really interesting Warbond, because instead of something more broad, like Steeled Veterans or Polar Patriots, this Warbond focused on one thing and one thing only: fire. This was really exciting, until the whole flamethrower nerf situation, but that's a story for another day. We're talking about Freedom's Flame as it is now, and whether or not you should consider getting it. Starting off on page 1, we have the SG-451 Cookout. This is a great pump shotgun, definitely one of my favorites out of any Punisher variant. This is of course an incendiary shotgun, but it deals pretty good damage right off the bat. 320 damage with light armor pen, but the shells themselves fire incendiary phosphorus pellets. So the projectile speed is very slow, and the Cookout doesn't keep the pellets grouped together when they leave the barrel, meaning that each shot has a very, very wide spread. So it's very hard to hit all of your pellets on a single enemy to deal maximum damage. However, the wide spread also means that the incendiary shells can spread fire to more enemies at once. The Cookout is great for spreading fire and dealing damage to a crowd of enemies. You still want to be in relatively close range when you fire it. It's not like you can set enemies on fire from a long distance, but you can use it at extremely close range to deal direct damage, or at close to medium range to set groups of enemies on fire and still deal some pretty good damage. If you're going against the bugs, or any other group of melee enemies, the Cookout is a really great choice for crowd control and damaging groups over time. It's one of my favorite incendiary weapons for sure. Page 1 also comes with an armor set, the I-09 Heatseeker armor set. This is a pretty cool armor set. It's very, well, red, so it's pretty flashy compared to some other armor sets, but it still has all the pouches and straps you would expect from a Helldivers armor set. I really like the helmet in particular. You have the breathing mask with that badass visor on the face, and the top part of the helmet looks like something very old, something out of World War I or World War II. It just looks really cool, in my opinion. This is a light armor set, 50 armor in particular, and it comes with the Inflammable passive. This is one of the simplest passives in the game. All it does is give you 75% damage resistance to fire. While it is the best passive for a fire-based loadout, it could be a lot better. Keep in mind that the damage resistance is the only perk you get from this passive. Meanwhile, the Killzone armor gives you 50% damage resistance to fire, gas, acid, and electric damage. And the armor from the new Warbond, Dust Devils, does the same thing with 40% damage resistance to all of those damage types, while also giving you better throwing distance. Inflammable should make you totally immune to burning, or they could simply increase the damage resistance that you get from it, because it's a fine passive, but it's so one note that it should really specialize in making you nearly immune to fire damage as a whole. If you're speccing purely into that, you should get a lot more. I mean, even the gas armor from Chemical Agents, that gives you like 90 or 95% resistance? And the armor from Cutting Edge gives you 95% damage resistance to electric damage. So it's just not, it's not all there. And I think being immune to burning would be a really good perk for these armor sets, and it would fit with the themes of the Warbond. So it's a fine passive. It's the best passive for a fire loadout, but it could be a lot better. Page 1 also has the big stretch victory pose. If you've ever had a mission so easy that you're yawning and stretching after, you might need to bump it up to Super Helldive. Now we're moving on to page 2. And on page 2, we have the Flam 66 Torture. The Torture is a weapon that I've been sleeping on for a long time, and for no good reason. It's actually better than the standard flamethrower in a lot of ways. They both deal virtually the same damage, so there's no difference there. The Torture has 45 ergonomics, compared to the flamethrower's measly 5 ergonomics. That's right, 5 ergonomics. So the Torture is 9 times better in that department. The Torture does have a smaller fuel canister, but it's barely noticeable. It has a capacity of 125, while the flamethrower has 130. This is not going to make a difference during missions, especially if you happen to reload when your canister is nearly empty. And the Torture can hold 6 fuel canisters, as opposed to the flamethrower's 4 fuel canisters. That is a lot more to keep you going between resupplies. So if you like the flamethrower, but you don't have a primary that you love a lot, then you should absolutely get the Torture. It's really, really good. Plus, that will leave you with room for another support weapon, so you'll have a ton of firepower. No pun intended. But you can take the Torture primary and combo that with like a machine gun, and then you end up with 2 very powerful weapons, so this is a pretty viable strategy in my opinion. Page 2 also comes with an armor set. The I-102 Draconaut armor set. Apart from having a badass name like Draconaut, this armor is pretty cool in its own right. The armor itself is pretty nice, mostly standard stuff, but the actual suit underneath the armor is clearly the same material as those fire protection suits, those like hot suits, which I think is a really great touch. It makes the armor stand out and it looks realistic. The helmet is really cool. It has an awesome looking rebreather thing on the front, with a viewport that seems like it's built to keep the light out, which makes sense considering that the user is probably staring at fire all day, and again, it makes the armor seem more realistic. And there's a weird Darth Vader thing going on at the back, but I like it. The armor passive is of course the same as the previous armor set. You get 75% damage resistance to fire. I've already talked about the passive, so there's no sense in repeating myself, but I do think that this armor set is better suited for that passive than the previous one, because you can tank even more fire damage if you're wearing medium armor as opposed to light armor. And yes, the Draconaut is medium armor. So yeah, I do like this armor set, even though I still think the passive needs a buff. This is my favorite out of the 2 sets in the Warbond. But I like the heavy armor from the Superstore more than either of these. Page 2 also comes with the Deep Reflection Victory Pose. This is great for when you want to pretend to think about something, and I do say pretend because we all know that thinking is not what we've been trained to do. Time for page 3, and on page 3, we're starting off with the Firebomb Hellpods Booster. I'm gonna be honest, this is probably one of the worst boosters in the whole game, and you might be actively harming your team by using it. This booster basically makes it so that all Hellpods spread fire on impact, which is mildly useful if you're reinforcing on top of enemies to deal damage, like, you know, landing in a crowd to kill a charger or whatever, but most of the time that's not the case. Keep in mind that this applies to all Hellpods. That means if you call in a support weapon or a resupply, you could easily set yourself on fire if you're in close proximity to the landing site. Imagine that you're frantically running away from enemies. You're low on health and you're out of stims, so you naturally call in a resupply. But you didn't notice that your teammate took Firebomb Hellpods. Your teammate probably just got you killed. That's really the problem with this booster. It's far too dangerous for the tiny benefit you actually get out of using it. The fire doesn't do enough damage to enemies to make it worth setting yourself and your friends on fire. I think it's a neat idea on paper, but in practice, it is inconvenient at best. I don't recommend using this booster at all, especially if you're joining midway into a mission and your team doesn't know that you brought this with you. You are going to get people killed. And that segues great into the Fire Safety Officer title. Pretty ironic, we just got done talking about those god-awful hell pods. Only you can stop forest fires, and then start them inside of a Terminid nest. Page 3 also comes with a secondary weapon, and that weapon is the P-72 Crisper. The Crisper is essentially just the Torture, but it fits in your pocket. It has the exact same damage, penetration, and range, of course, but with a smaller fuel canister size, and that's the gist of it. I like to bring this weapon against the bugs. It's perfect for whipping out and quickly setting enemies on fire, or lighting up the ground to deny the area to enemies and prevent them from getting to you and your friends. And it's one-handed, so you can protect yourself while you're carrying a black box or any other objective in the game, or if you're using a shield, it works with that too. This is one of the only secondaries in the game that can penetrate heavy armor. This, and the Senator, and the Ultimatum, I believe. So, the Crisper is one of the only secondaries that can damage a Charger or a Hulk through their armor. This is a great choice for a secondary. Just as long as you're being careful with it, you can pretty easily set yourself or your friends on fire, but really that goes for everything in this Warbond, so just exercise caution. Finally, we have the Thoracic Collision Exaltation Maneuver. Jesus Christ. Apart from having the most complicated name possible, this emote is pretty good. It's just a chest bump, which is great when you consider that we can actually see two divers chest bumping in the opening cutscene, so this is just delivering on expectations. In conclusion, Freedom's Flame does really well at what it sets out to do. You get a lot of really fun and interesting gear that is all based around using fire to your advantage. Even though there are a few small missteps with this Warbond, I think that it's really good overall. And it is absolutely worth getting if you want more options for incendiary weapons. You get two great primaries, a great secondary, some decent armor, and all of the other kinds of things you might expect from a Warbond, like capes, cards, and even vehicle patterns. If you like setting things on fire, this is the best Warbond for that. But if you don't care about incendiary weapons, then this is not for you. You're not gonna like this. Save this for last. Or just save up and don't buy it at all if you're not into setting things on fire. Either way, make sure that you're being careful with fire weapons. They can easily hurt you and your team, and remember to never use firebomb hell pods unless you're a sadomasochist. Chemical agents. This has to be one of the most neglected Warbonds ever released. And frankly, it's easy to understand why. This Warbond has a few problems, and we'll be talking about those later, but I can say right up front that if you like using gas against your enemies, then this is the best Warbond for that, hands down. But it doesn't offer much else apart from that. We are getting started on page 1, and my first item is the G4 gas grenade. This is definitely the best item in the Warbond, at least in my opinion. It's a really solid choice for a standard grenade. Instead of dealing instant damage, it spreads gas, obviously. Gas can penetrate tank armor, so this grenade can deal damage to just about anything in the game. Plus, you also get the benefits of the gas status effect, slowing and confusing enemies, often causing them to attack one another. The surprising thing about the gas grenade is the demolition force. You can use the gas grenade to close bug holes and destroy fabricators, which is a massive bonus for a grenade like this, allowing you to not only use it for crowd control and decent damage, but also to complete objectives. You can use it to really well nullify like a stalker nest or a small bug hive. This is a really solid grenade, And this is the highlight of the Warbond in my opinion. It's kinda downhill from here. Page 1 also comes with the AF-50 Noxious Ranger armor set. This is a neat looking armor set. I'm actually a fan of the more muted color palette for this one. It looks more seasoned and appropriate for warfare. I also really like the helmet. It's unlike anything else in the game. It's extremely menacing while still looking properly tactical. This is a light armor set with 50 armor rating, making it among the lightest armor sets in the game. So if you want a mobile armor set, this totally works for that. This armor set also comes with the Advanced Filtration passive, which simply gives you 80% damage resistance against all forms of gas damage. So it is a very, very basic passive. Nothing special, but it's pretty damn good at what it does. With this passive, you can just stand around and gas. Melee enemies will try and come get you, but they will often fail because of the gas status effect. They will stumble around, confused and helpless, while you beat the living democracy into them. However, I do think that you should get more than 80% damage resistance. I think it should be like 90 maybe, because if the passive only has one perk to offer, and it is so specific that you essentially need to make a build around this particular status, then it should be extremely powerful at doing that one thing, right? I feel like I'm not alone in this. I had the same issue with the armor sets for Freedom's Flame. They should both reduce the damage more than they already do, but again, it's still very good at what it does. The last item on page 1 is the Ew victory pose. This is like the worst victory pose in the game. It's not even funny, it's just stupid. And it doesn't even make any sense. Like, we're coming onto the ship. Does it smell bad? Does that bald lady smell bad? Like, what's going on here? We're gonna move on to page 2. And on page 2, we have the TX-41 sterilizer. I find that this is a very divisive support weapon. Many people insist that it's really good, and some don't. And I do think it has some value, but most of the time I would rather use a flamethrower. This is essentially a flamethrower that throws gas. So it's not a flamethrower, it's a gas thrower. It's really good at crowd control, and it has a very surprising range. You can hit enemies from pretty far away with this thing. Like farther than you would think when you're actually shooting it. Plus, it has anti-tank penetration, like most gas does. So you can damage and spread gas to just about any enemies in the game. But the thing is, it just doesn't do good damage. You're going to be relying on your other weapons or your teammates if you want to actually finish the enemies off. So this weapon does require a lot more effort to use than other support weapons. A lot of other support weapons just kill them outright. But the sterilizer is pretty good at what it was made to do. The question is, do you actually want to use it over other support weapons? This one really comes down to personal preference. And most of the time, I would rather use a flamethrower. I just think flamethrowers are way cooler and they're fun. Page 2 also has an armor set. The AF-02 Hazmaster armor set. This is a pretty neat armor set. I like how it looks. It's not as muted as the last one, it's much more colorful, but much like all of the other armors in the game, it's very believable. You could imagine this being a real thing that someone would wear. I like how the armor plates have that Boba Fett color palette, that's pretty cool. And the helmet actually looks great. It reminds me a lot of some Spartan helmets from Halo, or the Flame Troopers from Halo Wars. Did you know that those guys are called Hellbringers? It's a pretty awesome name. They could have been a cool armor set for the Halo Warbond, and they were actually known for using chemical weapons too. So maybe they helped inspire this armor set. Anyways, this armor set has the same passive as the first one, 80% damage resistance against all forms of gas damage, but this one is medium armor with 100 armor rating. So you actually get more protection from this armor set, and I would argue that it fits better with this passive. You can do a much better job at defending yourself in the gas if you're wearing heavier armor. And I'm not really a huge fan of light armor anyway, so I would definitely pick this one if I was going to run a gas build. There's literally nothing else of note on page 2, so I'm just going to show off the vehicle patterns from the entire Warbond right now. I can't say I'm a big fan of baby shit yellow, so these do not appeal to me at all. Especially when there are so many good vehicle patterns in the game now. Go take a look at Truth Enforcers, Force of Law, or the ODST Warbond. Those have way better patterns for you to go pick up, at least in my opinion. I get what they were going for with these, it matches the theme of the Warbond, but it's just not something I would ever actually use. I think I've maybe seen these patterns once in the game on like someone's Pelican. And yeah, so I'm not alone when I say that these are not very appealing. Time for page 3, and we're starting page 3 with the Expert Exterminator title. It's a fine title, but it's just nothing special, of course. Page 3 also has a stratagem. The AXTX13 Guard Dog Dog Breath. What a mouthful. This one is pretty easy to explain. It's a guard dog that shoots out gas instead of firing bullets or firing a laser. It's an interesting choice for a backpack slot, and it's not a terrible stratagem, but I would not take this over the standard guard dog. That thing is just great. It's extremely accurate, and it can take out enemies from quite the distance, while the dog breath typically only works in close range, and it is mainly used to spread gas for the status effect against enemies. It's not a bad stratagem, but I would rather keep my distance from enemies if I can, and I would normally take the standard guard dog over this one. I think having good upfront damage is better than gassing enemies that get close to you. But if you get up close with bugs or the Illuminate, then this is a decent choice and it can help defend you in some scenarios, but I find that it often acts too late. It's not reactive enough for me to want to take over the normal guard dog. Page 3 also comes with a secondary, the P11 Stim Pistol. Listen, I hate this thing. I know that some people are big fans of the Stim Pistol, and it does bring something new to the table, but I just find that you have to put so much effort into using this thing in a game where using something like this feels extremely punished. For those who don't know, this is a pistol that shoots healing stims. It's right there in the title, which is a really cool idea for a secondary, but there are so many drawbacks to using it. The worst thing about this pistol is that you need really good aim for this to work good. And the stims travel very slowly, so you need to lead your shots as well. And that's really hard to do under pressure. If this was a lock-on weapon, then I think it would be much better. It can't penetrate friendly shields either, which is just awful. If your teammate is running a shield generator, then this thing is so much harder to use. You have to wait for your teammate's shield to go down, or you have to awkwardly position yourself inside their tiny little shield and stim them up front. But that takes so much more time to do than just stimming yourself or getting stimmed normally by a teammate. So my suggestions for the stim pistol are the same that they always have been. Give it a lock-on mode and make it penetrate friendly shields. The projectile is already so slow, and Dune taught me that the slow blade penetrates the shield, so I think it should just go through the goddamn shield and heal your teammates, like bare minimum. Does the stim pistol have something to offer? Yes, and it's very unique, but is using it a giant pain in my fucking ass? Absolutely. And finally, we have the natural gas extraction emote. This is just stupid. I really don't know what else to say about this. In conclusion, I think this is far from the best Warbond in the game. There are a few decent items in here, but they're not incredibly useful outside of playing as a niche gas build. And sometimes they're the stim pistol, which is not useful. I mean, it kind of, but it's just shitty. And honestly, I think in general that's fine. This isn't an essential warbond, but it's important for warbonds to be distinct and have their own style. I think the worst part about this warbond is honestly the cosmetics. It's just my opinion, but I don't think there are any good-looking cosmetics in this warbond. The emote and the victory pose are just dumb. I've never actually seen anybody use them before. The vehicle cosmetics are really, really bad in my opinion. Plus, the cards and the capes are nothing special. So yeah, this warbond does have its own style, but I'm not a big fan of that style personally. This warbond was actually somewhat controversial when it first released. This was the first time that stratagems were actually locked behind a warbond, and while that is mostly accepted these days, there was some disappointment at the thought of future stratagems being stuck behind warbonds. Some people are still not happy about that, which is fair. So there's even more negative connotations stuck with this warbond. Again, it's not the one you want to get first, but if you like gas, consider this as an option at some point. But this is a hyper niche warbond, and I think that it's not as good as a lot of the other ones. Truth Enforcers. This is one of the few warbonds that came out and was pretty good, but has gotten huge buffs later on and has become one of my favorites. This and Freedom's Flame are the ones that got the biggest buffs post-launch, but we don't talk about what happened with Freedom's Flame. I think this is a great warbond all around, and you're gonna see why. But all you need to know up front is medium pen. We're starting off on page 1 with the Dead Sprint Booster. Despite how great this warbond is, we're starting off with my least favorite item in the whole thing. This booster allows you to sprint when you're out of stamina, but this comes at the cost of your health. Thankfully, it will stop draining your health when you reach 5%, but man, it can drain health pretty fast. It will drain 3.6% of your health for every second that you sprint without stamina, allowing you an extra 25 seconds or so of sprint time. But if you also have the Vitality Booster enabled, then you only drain 1% of your health every second, massively increasing the amount of sprint you can get from your health bar. And that is really the biggest issue with this booster. It relies way too heavily on the Vitality Booster to be viable, which really is emblematic of a larger problem with booster balance, but that is a topic for another day. The bottom line is that you will struggle to find a use for this booster unless you also have the Vitality Booster. It drains health too damn fast for it to make sense, and there aren't a lot of situations where this can even help you, but make sure that you carefully consider when to use this booster because, yeah, it can be useful in certain scenarios. If you have the Vitality Booster though, make sure that you use these together. Page 1 also comes with the SG-20 Halt. This is a great weapon, and it's one of the few weapons in the game with 2 different ammo types. The main ammo type is flechette rounds. They deal almost as much as standard buckshot rounds, which is what the Punisher uses. But flechette rounds penetrate medium armor, so you don't need to be as careful about where you're shooting an enemy, which is perfect for a shotgun. Shotguns naturally have wide spread, and sometimes you can't afford to be precise. The other ammo type is stun rounds. I really couldn't tell you if these are incredible or not, because I have not extensively used them on their own. But honestly, why would I when I can use flechette rounds and destroy anything below heavy armor? Stun rounds, they deal around 1/3 of the damage of flechette rounds, and they don't penetrate medium armor. They're not that good, but they of course stun, so they do have a use. The flechette rounds, though, are just amazing in general. They deal great damage, and they can take out so many different kinds of enemies. The Halt does have a few downsides, though, mainly the magazine capacity. It is still fed through 2 tubes, just like the Punisher is, but each tube holds different ammo types. This means you can only load 8 rounds of flechette and 8 rounds of stun at a time. When you run out of ammo in one magazine, you either reload 8 shells or manually switch to the other tube. This can cause some problems if you need more than 8 shells while you're fighting a bunch of medium armored enemies. This is a problem that other shotguns don't have. With other shotguns, you load it and you shoot and you reload it. So this is a bit more complicated. The only other downside is the lack of customization. You can only change the optics and the pattern. The halt does not let you put different chokes on the barrel, so the spread can be a bit wide at times. But despite all that, the halt is still my favorite shotgun next to the M90A. It's a great weapon if you can keep yourself fully loaded and fight up close against your enemies. There's really not a lot to talk about on page 1, apart from the last 2 things, so I'm just gonna show off the vehicle patterns from the whole Warbond here. They look great, definitely some of my favorite vehicle patterns in the whole game. It's the closest that you can actually get to just having black vehicles, and the red details are really cool, and you get the little Helldivers skull as well on some bits. The shuttle in particular is really cool. I like the silver looking bits on the cockpit and the thrusters. Really nice stuff. Now we are moving on to page 2. And on page 2, we have the SMG-32 Reprimand. I used to really hate this thing. It had everything going for it, but it had a massive flaw, which was the spread. The bullets wouldn't go anywhere near where they were fired. Super Earth was shipping out defective reprimands for months until Heart of Democracy released. This was when they fixed the spread and came out with weapon customization. Now that the reprimand has been fixed, this is an absolute powerhouse of a weapon. It might be in the SMG category, but it punches like a marksman rifle. It fires a unique ammo type referred to as SMG Rhino. This round deals 125 damage, more than any assault rifle in the entire game. And it has medium armor penetration. So yeah, it can make quick work of any small or medium enemies. This bullet outclasses any assault rifle bullet in the game, period. Bar none. However, every weapon has a downside. It does have a decent amount of recoil, and it only has 25 rounds per magazine, with no option to upgrade the magazine, so you need to be careful about wasting ammo. If you're a good shot, then this weapon will be great for you. Plus, you can't use it one-handed like other SMGs, so shield users will need to stick with the crossbow if they want medium pen, but regardless, this is an excellent choice for anyone who likes full auto weapons. It really is one of the best, and it just packs such a powerful punch. Page 2 also comes with an armor set, the UF-50 Bloodhound armor set. I actually quite like how this armor set looks, for the most part, but you really need to like the color red if you're gonna wear it. It reminds me a lot of those ketchup troopers from the Star Wars sequels, and no, I won't call them Sith troopers, we already have those and they're beautiful. I like the padding on the body. It looks very futuristic, but also practical. And I like the helmet a lot too. It looks a lot like something that an Inquisitor from Star Wars would wear. A lot of Star Wars references in this video apparently. This armor set comes with the Unflinching passive, which has a few perks. The first thing it does is remove flinching when you take damage, which is only partially true. You will still physically flinch, but your aim will not be affected. So the description really doesn't tell you what this perk does at all. It simply makes it so that your aim is not affected when you flinch. Keep that in mind. This passive also gives you a higher armor rating, meaning that they just gave it an extra 25 armor rating, which is a very welcome change, and it's an all-around great thing to have. You also get the radar pings that come with the scout passive, meaning that when you place a marker on the map, it will give you radar on that general area, which is very useful if you know how to use it correctly. Overall, this is a pretty great armor set. As IGN would put it, it has a little something for everyone. Time for page 3, and on page 3, we have the Free of Thought title. I mean, it's a great title. It's got a cool icon with it. It's very on the nose, but it is very fitting and thematic for this Warbond. Next up, we have the Plaz 15 Loyalist. The Loyalist is essentially a purifier that fits in your pocket. That's really the only weapon you can compare this to. So if you want to know more about the purifier, check out my video on Polar Patriots. The Loyalist deals slightly less damage than the purifier, but it can be used as a sidearm, and it does have some slight advantages. The magazine capacity is half of what the purifier can hold, and it deals around 3/4 of the damage that the purifier does. But it does have the same penetration, area of effect, and fire rate, meaning that you can spam this thing extremely fast. There is essentially no limit on the fire rate if you want to spam it. It's like 6,000 RPM or something, and I don't think anyone can mash it faster than that. This is great for situations where you need to damage something immediately, like a lot, and it might save your life in that situation. I could say more about this weapon, but I would just be repeating what I said about the Purifier, so go check out my review of Polar Patriots and watch the Purifier segment in there. This weapon is just a secondary version of that, that's all. Page 3 also comes with an armor set. The infamous UF-16 Inspector armor set. This is definitely my favorite out of the 2 armor sets in this Warbond, at least visually, and it's one of the most iconic armors in Helldivers 2. Almost as iconic as the classic B01 tactical set. It definitely does not look practical for the level of warfare we get involved in, but it's so cool. It makes you look like a refined gentleman and a villain. I think that's a big part of why this armor set is so popular. You just look like a bad guy, and playing as a bad guy is always a fun change of pace. The color palette is perfect. It looks so good, and the helmet is great. Definitely one of the best looking helmets in the game, and another great reason why we need armor customization, you know, like different color palettes for armors. This armor set also comes with the unflinching passive, so I won't repeat myself and waste your time rehashing that. This is a light armor set, but keep in mind that the unflinching passive does give you some extra armor rating, so this is the closest thing you can get to a light armor set with extra padding, you know, the extra padding passive. So if you like medium armor, you're actually kind of at a toss-up on which armor set you would prefer to use. This one is 25 less than your standard medium armor, 75 armor rating, but it has the light armor movement. While the Bloodhound set, you get 125 armor rating with medium armor movement. So it's kind of a toss-up, but they're both pretty good. If you like light armor, then this is a really good set, and you get to wear one of the coolest sets in the game though, so this is a good choice. And finally, we have the At Ease emote. This is another iconic item in the Helldivers community. It's a really cool emote, very fitting in this universe and in this Warbond, very nice for role-playing, and I don't mean the sexy kind. Or do I? In conclusion, this is one of my personal favorite Warbonds. It has great cosmetics, incredible weapons, and some really cool armor with a pretty good passive. This Warbond has seen some of the biggest direct buffs in the game. The Reprimand used to be a non-functional gun. It was terrible. It didn't function correctly, but now it tears through enemies at close or medium range. The armor passive got a huge buff when they gave it more armor rating, and they even got half of the scout passive to boot. This Warbond is like the MILF of Warbonds. It only gets better over time, but it always looks good even when it sucks. Even the booster can be useful if you know what you're doing with it, and I don't even like it that much, but I can acknowledge that it is unique and it adds something new to the game. Definitely buy this Warbond if you're a medium pen addict, or if you want some of the coolest looking armor in the game. Urban Legends. This Warbond is great in some ways, and not so great in others. That's why I call it a mixed bag. You read the title, you know what you're getting into. and you'll see why I think that way as we discuss each item in the Warbond. We have to start at page 1, and we're going to kick off page 1 with the SH-51 Directional Shield. We're starting off this Warbond with one of the worst stratagems in the entire game, in my opinion at least. The Directional Shield is what you get when you really want Reinhardt in your semi-realistic PvE game. It projects a shield in front of you that can protect you and anyone behind you from projectiles. It doesn't have a lot of health, but unlike the ballistic shield, it does not break permanently when it runs out of health. Instead, it will simply retract and recharge energy until you're ready to use it again. This is definitely the best part about the Directional Shield. It won't permanently break no matter what you throw at it, but everything else about it is just very underwhelming. For starters, it doesn't block melee damage at all, so it is useless against the bugs, and you won't be blocking any damage from the Voteless or Berserkers or any melee enemies like that. Think about that. A shield backpack that doesn't block melee damage. Plus, it doesn't shield you when you have it on your back, when you're holding a two-handed weapon. The ballistic shield will protect your back if you're holding a two-handed weapon, but you will not get the same luxury here with the Directional Shield. And even though the shield can theoretically protect your allies as well as yourself, when is that ever gonna happen? You would need an insane level of cohesion and coordination for that to work. People just don't stick that close together even when they are working together and communicating. It's just not worth doing, and honestly, this stratagem is not worth choosing. Just take the ballistic shield instead. Yeah, it might break on you at some point, but at least it can protect your back and protect you against melee attacks. It's just superior in my opinion. Next up, we have the CQC-19 Stun Lance. Believe it or not, this is the only weapon in the entire Warbond, which has to be my biggest problem with Urban Legends. Only one weapon, and it's melee. No guns or support weapons at all. The weapon itself is pretty unique. It was among the first melee weapons ever added to the game, with the other being the Stun Baton. The Stun Lance is a secondary, just like every other melee weapon except for that god-awful flag, and it is the exact same as the flag in every single way except for looks. Plus, it doesn't take up the support weapon slot, so you have no reason to take the flag. Do not take the flag ever, just don't do it. Even though I'm not a big fan of melee in this game, this is one of my favorite melee weapons in the whole game. You get the lunge distance that you can use to hit enemies that are a bit further away from you, plus you get the stun effect, which can actually come in handy sometimes. The damage is nothing to write home about. It does the same damage as the combat hatchet and the saber, but it can't attack as fast as those two can. But keep in mind that you still get the stun effect and better range than those two weapons. This isn't very good at killing enemies outright, but it can save your life if you're totally dry on ammo and an enemy is charging towards you. You can use it with a shield for a cool shield and spear loadout, but please use the ballistic shield for that instead of the Directional Shield. You get no benefit for using the Directional Shield with a melee weapon. Just don't do it. Overall, I'm not super enthused about this weapon because I'm not a big fan of melee, but it's decent enough for a melee weapon. But the real problem I have is that this is the only weapon in the Warbond, so I'm just not very happy about that. Next up, we have the SR-24 Street Scout Armor Set. And this is where shit gets real. This has to be one of the sleekest looking armors in the game. Very tactical. I can imagine that this is a pretty popular one with people who appreciate the military aesthetic. It has a cool camo pattern and a really cool chest rig. You see all those like little mag pouches and shit on there. It's very nice. The helmet is great too. It fits perfectly with any armor set that uses the classic black and yellow color scheme. This is a light armor set with 50 armor rating, so it is tied for the best mobility in the entire game. The passive in this Warbond is Siege Ready, and Siege Ready is one of my favorite passives in the entire game, and I know a lot of people feel the same way. What it does is it makes your reloads for all primary weapons 30% faster. That is a massive increase, and it's good for literally everybody. You will always find a good use for this perk no matter what enemy you're fighting or what mission you're doing. The other perk increases your ammo capacity by 20% for every weapon you're holding. This applies to everything except for the ultimatum, which rounded itself up to give an extra round, but this was removed a few months ago. The funny thing is that this perk was never an intended feature. It was only meant to increase your ammo capacity for your primary weapons, but people liked it so much that they changed the description and just left it quote-unquote broken as it is. This is another perk that you will always find a use for. More ammo means that you don't need supplies as often, meaning that you almost always have a means of defending yourself. Getting an extra machine gun magazine or an extra belt for your grenade launcher makes a huge difference. If you wanted a reason to buy this Warbond, this passive has to be the #1 reason that I would give you. Now we're moving on to page 2. And starting off on page 2, we have the Armed Resupply Pods booster. This is a really great idea for a booster, and I'm a big fan of the concept. This booster pretty much turns every one of your resupply pods into a pseudo guard dog. Every resupply will come attached with a Liberator that fires the same rounds that the Liberator Penetrator does, allowing it to deal decent damage to enemies and penetrate medium armor. The ammo capacity is very limited, only 140 rounds for every resupply pod, but it's a nice little boost to your firepower if you're in a defensive situation. This booster is not always useful though. I don't call in resupplies when I'm in active combat, and I will quickly grab what I need and move on anyways. So this is best for missions where you need to defend an area, even for a short amount of time. So it's great for helping you raise flags, launch missiles, and pretty much any other objective that requires you to stay in one area for a few minutes. The real problem with this booster is the same problem that every new booster has, which is that booster balancing is just not where it should be. There are always 3 boosters that everyone takes, and most of the other boosters are forgotten about. I don't know how to fully solve this problem, but it is a problem, and we should keep pointing out this problem until there are some balancing changes regarding boosters. Anyway, the booster itself is good, but it suffers from the current balancing of the game. That's all. Next up, we have the A-Flam 40 Flame Sentry. This is a very easy stratagem to understand. It's a flame sentry. That's about all you need to know about it. You can't use it over long distances like lots of other sentries, so you don't want to use it when you're, say, attacking an enemy outpost, especially if you're going against the bots. But it's pretty damn good against melee range enemies, and it can defend an area pretty well. Plus, it has great fire damage resistance, so it won't be easily damaged by itself or by you if you're running a fire-based loadout. It also explodes when it's destroyed, dealing pretty good damage to anything around it while setting everything on fire. So it is a good choice if you want to hold down a choke point for a decent amount of time. This one has grown on me quite a bit, and I like it a lot, so it's pretty damn good, and I recommend it against enemies like the bugs and also the Illuminate. Not quite so much against the bots for its short range, because that will be a big detriment on the battlefield, but if you're holding down close quarters areas, this is pretty damn good, and it's a nice defensive option. Page 2 also comes with an armor set, the SR-18 Roadblock armor set. This is definitely my preferred armor from this Warbond. I'm not a big fan of light armor, but I do like heavy armor, which this is. Visually, it's very nice. It has that bulky, round, trooper look to it. Plus it has those cool mag pouches, which I'm always a fan of. The helmet isn't my favorite, but the whole armor set is very close to the basic Helldivers color palette, so you could mix and match this with a lot of different other helmets or armor sets, and it would still look good. This armor also comes with the Siege Ready passive, and I'll say it again, this is one of the best passives in the game, so I 100% recommend this armor to anyone who already likes heavy armor. The Siege Ready passive really does sell this Warbond for me, and I'm glad that there is a set of heavy armor in this Warbond that already has it. Time for page 3, and on page 3 we have the Super Pedestrian title. This is a pretty good title, definitely one of the most humorous titles in the game. It's always funny to see how many things you can just slap the word super onto, like super paper clips or super screwdrivers. So yeah, it's a good title. Next up, we have the EAT-12 anti-tank emplacement. This is an extremely useful stratagem if you can use it correctly. You call it down, and it sets up a massive cannon that you can manually use against your enemies. As the name states, it's anti-tank, so you can use it to destroy enemy buildings like fabricators, bulk fabricators, and even command bunkers. So, as you can guess, this stratagem is really good against the bots. You can land in a blitz mission, snipe all of the enemy bases, and end the mission right there. The biggest issue with this stratagem is the turning speed. It is incredibly slow, and if an enemy is approaching you from behind, you will not be able to turn around fast enough. This is not a good choice against enemy infantry or any medium enemies, but if you use it defensively as well, you can do some massive damage to hold down large enemies and vehicles. So it's great for high value asset extraction missions. You can hold areas really well with this thing. The anti-tank emplacement is not something that you should bring into every mission, but there are certain situations where it excels, and it's also just very fun to use. So I recommend this thing a lot. Next up, we have the "This is Democracy" emote. This is absolutely one of the best emotes in the game. Not only is it pretty hilarious to kick your teammates over and over again in the face, this is an actual melee attack when you're in the mission too. You can kick enemies in the face with this emote, or you can troll your friends and, kick the shit out of them. It's really fun. It also gets extra melee damage from armor passives like Peak Physique. Pretty insane stuff. It counts as a melee attack, according to the game's logic. It's definitely one of the most unique emotes in the game, and it's just really, strange and cool. And I guess I'll also show off the concrete jungle vehicle pattern on each of the vehicles now. It's a pretty nice pattern. I like the urban camo. It fits really well on the mechs and the FRV in particular. I don't know why you would want it on your shuttle or your pod. It's not like those things, stay on the ground a lot. But I appreciate it, and I would like to see more camouflage-based vehicle patterns in the future. Like a woodland camo, or, I don't know, like a digital camo or something. Anyways, it's very nice stuff. I like this pattern quite a bit. In conclusion, this Warbond does have a lot to offer, but it's not one that sticks out in my mind when I think of my favorite Warbonds. And the reason I think that way is very simple. There are no guns. And I really like having new guns to test out and play with and have fun with. It's one of the best parts about a new Warbond for me is getting a new weapon, leveling it up and having a blast with it. It's really cool stuff. But if you're totally satisfied with the guns you already have, then this is a really good choice for a Warbond. You get 2 great stratagems, and the directional shield is there too. You get one of the best melee weapons in the game if you're into melee, and you get one of the best armor passives in the game, bar none. There's a lot to love about Urban Legends, and if you find yourself intrigued by anything I've said here today, then go and check it out for yourself. I think it's worth buying if you know what you're getting into. It's not the first Warbond I would buy if I was a new player, but if you like the guns you have already and you don't plan on changing things up, you get some really solid stratagems here, and well, it's pretty good. Servants of Freedom. This Warbond does not have a ton of items, but it does have an incredible variety of items. There's a lot of unique qualities you can find in this Warbond. So, my quick opinion, my TLDR on this Warbond, would be that it's pretty small compared to some other Warbonds, but the stuff that you do get is pretty great. We are going to kick this off on page 1. And on page 1, we have the LAS-17 Double Edge Sickle. We're starting out this Warbond very strong, because this is one of the most effective and unique primaries in the entire game. The Double Edge Sickle is obviously a variant of the LAS-16 Sickle, but with some key differences. The Double Edge Sickle, or the Dickle for short, has no safety features for handling the heat produced by the weapon. This means that instead of your heat sink burning out, the Dickle will start dealing fire damage to the user, and it can even set them on fire if they shoot it for long enough. But as the weapon heats up, it gains damage and armor penetration. It can even penetrate heavy armor if you heat it up all the way. So compared to the standard sickle, this is a massive trade-off, and it goes both ways. You will take damage if you use this weapon, but in turn, you will deal insane damage to your enemies. It's a double-edged sword. It's a Dickle sword. The best way to use this weapon is by using fire-resistant armor. The best possible set that you can use is the I-44 Salamander set from the Superstore. This is heavy armor with the inflammable passive, so you can soak up tons of fire damage, which is what the Dickle deals. Then you slap on the Vitality booster, and that turns you into an absolute powerhouse. You can slaughter entire missions with this build alone. The Dickle is not a weapon for the faint of heart. It fucks hard. And if you build around it, then it's possibly the best primary in the entire game. I absolutely recommend this weapon. Next up, we have the IE3 Martyr armor set. The armor sets in this Warbond are some of the most unique items in the game. Even just based on their visual style alone, they stand out a lot. They have a very distinct Roman influence on their design. Their helmets are molded in the image of a human face, and the chest plate for this particular armor set is engraved with a Latin phrase. When translated, it reads out as "freedom through democracy," which is a great little detail, and it adds a lot of character to this armor set. This is a medium armor set, 100 armor rating, and the armor passive for this Warbond is Integrated Explosives, which has a very unique perk. When you die, your armor will explode 1.5 seconds after you die. Thematically, this is very fitting, and it's an interesting perk, but it's not very good in practice. I'm not a big fan of this perk for a few reasons. First off, it only comes into play when you die, so if you're an excellent player that can avoid death, this passive will do nothing for you. And the explosive isn't really a game changer. It deals 2,000 damage, which is a lot, and it has anti-tank penetration, which is really good, but the radius isn't that great. And frankly, I understand why. It's a tough perk to balance. You don't want it to be insanely overpowered, like a huge 500 kilogram, because then it would kill your teammates just as much as your enemies. And of course you don't want it to be underpowered either, so it's kind of just in this meh state, like it's alright. This passive also gives you 2 more throwables. This perk was added back in June, and I'm glad they did that. It makes sense for this passive to come with even more explosives, and it definitely needed another perk, because, god, this was a terrible passive before June. So this passive is actually really cool, but for practical reasons, I would rather take the engineering kit passive, because then you get extra explosives, and you can reduce your recoil. Still, it's a really cool passive, and if you want to play as a suicide bomber, this is your best option. Now we're going to move on to page 2. And on page 2, we have the GP20 Ultimatum. The Ultimatum is another one of the most unique and powerful weapons in the game, but this time it's a secondary weapon. The Ultimatum fires a single, powerful explosive round. The velocity is extraordinarily slow, only 20 meters per second, and the projectile is so heavy that it will hit the ground only a moment after firing it. Seriously, like Nerf darts travel for a longer distance than the Ultimatum rounds, so you can't use it at long range at all. You need to get up and close to your target before using it. But when you do, this thing is absolutely devastating. It deals 1,000 damage on impact, and 2,000 damage with the explosion, all of which is anti-tank. And it has enough demolition force to destroy a wide variety of buildings and objectives. Things like fabricators, bioprocessors, and even Bile Titan spawners. Plus, it's great at taking out groups of enemies too, especially heavily armored enemies like Hulks, War Striders, Chargers, like anything in that class of enemies. The Ultimatum can just take them out so easily. The Ultimatum is not a conventional secondary. It's not a sidearm that you would use as a backup when your primary is out of ammo. It is a tool that you can use in certain situations to make things much easier for yourself. This is widely considered to be one of the best secondaries in the game, and in many ways it is. But just remember that this is no replacement for a standard pistol. It is something else entirely, and it's really good at doing its own job. Next up, we have the IE-12 Righteous armor set. I much prefer this armor set over the last one, pretty much just because I like the hood on the helmet. It's one of the only armors in the game to have like a traditional hood, so I'm a big fan of that. The armor itself is fine, and I do like how the armor sets in this Warbond have the explosive collar, which is really cool because it visually justifies the integrated explosives passive. This armor set is functionally identical to the last one, which is really disappointing. There are 2 medium armor sets and 1 light armor set with this passive, but no heavy armor. They really should have made one of these sets into a heavy armor set, so if you don't care about the visuals of your armor, then these armor sets are redundant and you don't need to get both of them. But if you like this passive and you like medium armor, then you have the freedom to choose which one you prefer. But they are the same exact armor sets, just with different skins pretty much. Just keep that in mind. Time for page 3. And we're starting off page 3 with the Servant of Freedom title. This title is, well, really on the nose and obvious. I'm pretty sure this is the only time they just took the name of the Warbond and stuck it on the title, so it's kinda lame, but you know, that's all subjective, really. Next up, we have a stratagem, the B100 Portable Hellbomb. This is yet another incredibly unique and useful item. The item explains itself perfectly with the title. It is a portable hellbomb, which is insanely good if you can use it correctly. You simply strap it to your back, find something you want to blow up, and then arm the bomb. Once you arm the bomb, you have 10 seconds before it explodes, just like a normal hell bomb. So, you can either arm the bomb at your destination and use those 10 seconds to run, or you can arm it prematurely and use those 10 seconds to get the bomb where it needs to be. Both are pretty badass options, and it's a really fun stratagem to use. The portable hell bomb is perfect for certain missions against the bots and the Illuminate. You can use the portable hell bomb against the bots to take out stratagem jammers without disabling them or interacting with them at all. You just need to have the hell bomb with you before you enter the radius of the jammer, and then you can run the bomb up and arm it. This makes stratagem jammers so much easier than they normally are. If you're going against high-level bots, then one person in your squad should bring a portable hell bomb. It will make your lives so much easier. And it's great against the Illuminate because you can destroy their Illuminate monoliths with them, so you can complete your main objective much faster. If you're dropping into an Illuminate mission with a monolith, consider bringing the portable hell bomb. And it's great at killing enemies too. No enemy in the game can survive a hell bomb in close proximity, except for the Hive Lord, but that's that's different. That's that's barely even an enemy. That's like a hazard. Overall, this is an excellent stratagem. It's not your typical backpack, but it's an excellent tool that you can use to help complete your missions. Next up, we have the G50 Seeker. The Seeker is essentially an impact grenade, but with a mind of its own. When thrown, it will automatically seek out the nearest enemy target and fly towards them, detonating and dealing some decent damage. Or if there's no enemies nearby, it will simply hover around you and wait until it sees an enemy. The reason that I compared this to the impact grenade is because they have nearly identical stats. They just function differently. It's not easy to throw a Seeker into a bug hole or an Illuminate ship. In fact, it's really hard to destroy objectives with these. But you can use them to hunt down and destroy enemies very efficiently. You can actually ping targets for the Seeker. You can use this to target things like gunships, taking them down extremely effectively. Or you can use it to target larger enemies when they're in a crowd of certain enemies. You can use it to prioritize your targets, and it's pretty cool how you can do that. It takes a little extra effort to use the Seekers when compared to other grenades, but they're really cool, and they can be used in a very different way when compared to other grenades like the impact grenade. So the Seeker is a really fun and really neat little gadget. And finally, we have the Raise Weapon emote. This emote is pretty great. It allows you to raise your weapon above your head, no shit, and you can even fire off your gun when you hold it up. Pretty cool stuff. It's pretty interactive as far as emotes go. And if you combine this emote with some of that new stuff from Dust Devils, then you have a pretty cool Dune cosplay. So as far as emotes go, this one is pretty awesome. In conclusion, Servants of Freedom is a really great warbond. It has a great variety and some really cool ideas for new items. Even though there aren't a ton of items when compared with some early warbonds, you do get some really cool stuff. You actually almost get an entire loadout just from this warbond. You get a primary, a secondary, a throwable, armor sets, and even a backpack. Really, all it's missing is a support weapon, and then I would say this is like a pure 10 out of 10 warbond. So you get a nice set of gear that mixes well with other builds and strategies. There's not a lot of cosmetics, but if you don't care about that, then this is a great warbond for you. It's also an incredibly easy warbond to finish. It only requires 598 medals to get every item, while some other warbonds go beyond 800 medals to complete. So this isn't the first warbond you should get in my opinion. The items here are far better for experienced players to specialize their arsenals, but if you know what you're doing, this is a really good option for, a good warbond when you have played the game some more and you want something different, something cool. And it's definitely one of the best warbonds to release this year so far. Borderline Justice. Saddle up, partner. Today we're talking about a rootin' tootin' warbond that'll knock your socks off. It features some awesome gear and some great cosmetic items. I would equate this here warbond with Servants of Freedom, because it doesn't feature a ton of items, but they're all very unique and they're very fun. We're gonna get started on page 1. And on page 1, we have the R6 Deadeye. This is my favorite marksman rifle in the game. Not only is it stylish and fun to use, but it hits like a truck at any range. The Deadeye is a lever action rifle. You feed it round by round, and each round deals 300 damage with medium armor penetration. That is a lot of damage per round. It's actually the most damage per round out of any weapon that uses standard bullets. The damage combined with the armor penetration means that you can deal excellent damage to almost any enemy in the game if you have good aim. And since this weapon is great at long range, I really like to use this against the bots. You can fight them at long range, picking off targets and making things easier for your team if they choose to advance. I don't really like using this weapon here against bugs though. You don't have enough ammo to handle a large crowd of smaller enemies, and it does have a long reload if you empty it. It's not my favorite to use against the Illuminate either, but it can instantly kill Overseers if you hit them in the head, so that's pretty great. But you'll want to bring something to help with the Voteless if you choose to bring the Deadeye to the Galactic South. Overall, this is an incredibly fun weapon to use, and if you use it correctly, it can function as an excellent sniper rifle. Next up, we have the GS-17 Frontier Martial Armor Set. This armor set is just really cool. It definitely has that sci-fi bounty hunter look, and it pulls it off really well. I like the little neck scarf. I like that he's been collecting teeth, and I like that he has some kind of silver hand.
Wake the fuck up.
The helmet is great too. I say this a lot, but it very much reminds me of some kind of Star Wars trooper, like a scout trooper or some kind of Sith Empire agent. This armor set comes with the Gunslinger passive, which entirely revolves around secondary weapons. It comes with 3 different perks. The first perk gives you 40% faster reloads for all of your secondary weapons. So if you ever find that your secondaries just take too long to reload, then this is the passive for you. It also allows you to draw and holster your secondary weapons twice as fast, which is great if you find yourself being, overrun and you're running out of ammo often in your primary weapon, and you feel the need to regularly swap to your secondary. The third perk simply reduces your recoil with secondary weapons by 70%, which is a massive decrease in recoil. More than 2/3 of the recoil is just gone. This is very useful on pretty much any standard pistol. The Redeemer, the Senator, and the Verdict benefit heavily from this perk. This is a very unique passive, and it's a great idea for the Cowboy Warbond. Being able to become a master of gunslinging is pretty damn cool, but it's not exactly useful. It's not super practical, and it's far from being the best passive in the game. It's not a passive that I ever consider using on difficult missions. There are other passives that bring so much utility and value to the table, and they overshadow this one quite a bit. I'm sure there is some way you could buff this passive while keeping the identity it has, but I'm not sure how someone would go about that. But this armor set is really awesome looking, and if you really love your secondary weapons, then this is a good pick and you'll have a good time. And now we have to move on to page 2. And on page 2, we have the GS-66 Lawmaker armor set. This here armor set is much more blatant with the bounty hunter inspiration. The bandolier, the belt, and the leather are all very classic cowboy tropes, and it still manages to look very sci-fi, very Mandalorian. The helmet especially, it's close to having that Mando T-visor, and it still has the antenna on the left ear with those glowing bits on the other. This is a heavy armor set, 150 armor rating, and of course it has the Gunslinger passive. It's a bit of an odd combo, using heavy armor and focusing on secondary weapons, but to each their own. This is a really cool armor set, and I quite like the way it looks, and it, stands out from the rest. Next up, we have the LAZ-58 Talon. This is widely regarded to be one of the best secondaries in the game, if not the best secondary in the game, period. It functions similarly to the Sickle. It fires laser projectiles, and it uses heat sinks instead of magazines, making it very effective at conserving ammo. But the Talon is semi-automatic, and it packs some serious firepower for a pistol. It deals 200 damage with medium penetration, so it deals more damage than almost any other pistol, outclassing the Verdict, the Warrant, and the SOCOM in terms of raw damage. You can fire it very fast, and you can spam out 6 shots in a row without overheating, making it function just like a laser revolver, just without the actual revolving. But you can act like a real quick shot, you can spam out 6 shots and take an enemy out pretty fast. But if you fire too much, then the weapon will break open and you'll need to change the heatsink. However, If you can keep it from overheating, it's an excellent sidearm. If you run out of ammo in your primary, you can quickly swap to the Talon and get 6 shot out very fast to help defend yourself. And it's really great for synergizing with other energy weapons. You can use a primary like the Sickle or the Scythe, and when it nearly overheats, you swap to the Talon and use that until the Talon nearly overheats, then swap back and repeat. There are a lot of great ways to use the Talon, and it's an incredible secondary that I can recommend to just about anybody. It's definitely one of the items that sells this Warbond. Time for page 3. And on page 3, we have the TED-63 Dynamite. This is pretty much a standard grenade, but with a twist. The main gimmick of this here weapon is the programmable timer. You can set it to explode after 5 seconds, 15 seconds, or 1 whole minute. I personally use the 5-second timer. I'm not nearly smart enough to get use out of the other 2 options. I've heard that some people use the longer timers for stealth. They set the timer and they toss it away to create a distraction. And since enemies are drawn to the sound of combat, they'll go right for it and they'll leave you alone. That's way above my pay grade. I'm not nearly clever enough for that, so I pretty much just use it as a standard grenade. But how does it perform as a standard grenade? Pretty good, I would say. It has a very large radius and very high damage when compared with other grenades. And although 5 seconds is still a pretty long timer when compared with the other standard grenades, you can still use it well if you're smart about it. If you're being chased by enemies, throw the grenade at your feet and run. You're sure to take out a group of enemies whether or not you can escape the radius of the dynamite. Overall, the dynamite is really good. It just requires you to think ahead and be able to use it to its advantages. Make sure you throw it at the start of a crowd, like a crowd is going to walk into the grenade. Don't throw it into the crowd, throw it ahead of them. They'll walk into it and they'll blow right up. You'll get a lot of kills that way. Next up, we have the Lift 860 Hover Pack. This is a really cool backpack and a really neat side grade to the standard jump pack that we all know and love. It functions similarly to the jump pack. They're both jet packs after all, but the hover pack instead focuses entirely on vertical movement instead of diagonal movement like the jump pack. It can be used to scale walls and find new places to defend yourself, or new flanking routes to surprise your enemies. I like to pair this bad boy with explosive weapons like the grenade launcher, or the crossbow, or the grenade pistol even. You can fly high above your opponents and rain hell on them without worrying about blowing yourself to smithereens. Plus, it's very helpful for destroying fabricators. If all you brought were impact explosives, like the grenade launcher, like the crossbow, then it can help you out big time if you need to land an explosive right into the fabricator's vents. This backpack isn't perfect, it's fairly situational, but it's very fun to use and it's very fitting for a warbond about space cowboys and bounty hunters. Next up, we have the Sample Extricator Booster. This booster is very different. It doesn't give you any actual benefits during combat. The sole function of this booster is to help you obtain common samples. That's how it works. Every time you kill a large enemy, there is a small chance for it to drop a common sample. This can happen up to 10 times in a single mission. So in the best case scenario, you can earn 10 more common samples per mission. But that's really not a lot in my opinion. Not enough to sacrifice a booster for. I'll be honest, I never picked this booster myself until I had to record for this video. I've been in matches where other people have picked it, but I've never noticed a difference in the amount of common samples because I generally don't need any more common samples. This is all very opinionated, but this is just my observations. And I get it. You are supposed to take this booster to help out new players and get them some more commons, but I just don't think it's that good. There's already a much better sample-based booster, in my opinion, but perhaps they would work well if you use them together. I could see that. They really gotta buff this booster. Give it a small chance to drop like a rare sampler or something. Just give it something extra, you know? Next up, we have the Super Sheriff title. I love cowboys. Big, hot, cool, buff cowboys. And you need this title if you're gonna visit Super Ram Ranch. Well, seriously, I do love the title Super Sheriff. It's very fitting, very fun. You know, I love just slapping super onto whatever word we can think of. And our last item is the Tip Hat emote. Well, it's a nice emote. The unfortunate thing is that we don't have any cowboy hats that we can actually tip. The closest thing we have is the Parade Commander hat, and that just doesn't cut it for a cowboy like me. It's really quite sad. In conclusion, Borderline Justice is very similar to Servants of Freedom. You don't get a ton of items, but the items that you do get feel very unique and are very fun to use. I love shooting the Deadeye. The Talon is an incredible sidearm. The Dynamite is a good choice for a grenade. The Hover Pack is very fun to use, and the armors are really, really cool looking. The only thing I would change about this Warbond would be the passive and the booster. The passive could use some sort of buff, and the booster should give you a lot more. It should allow rare samples to drop as well, and increase the drop chance so that you have a better chance of leaving with 10 more samples. But despite all that, this Warbond is still worth it in my eyes, and you should pick it up if you want a Warbond that is focused more on being fun and thematic than anything else. Masters of Ceremony. This Warbond has some of the best style in the game. Sure, there are a few good items, but if you're buying this Warbond, you're probably buying it because you love the look of the items. Masters of Ceremony is another mixed bag in my opinion, kind of like Urban Legends. But it's still a decent Warbond, and I like it well enough. We are gonna get started on page 1. And on page 1, we have the R2 Amendment. This is a really fun weapon, and it fits really well with this Warbond in particular. The Amendment is inspired by a few different weapons from real-world history, notably the M14 and the FG42. And this makes sense because it is considered a ceremonial weapon, much like the Constitution is. But in practice, the Amendment and the Constitution are quite different. The only thing they truly share in common is the bayonet. The Amendment has a magazine capacity of 20 rounds, and each round deals 200 damage with light armor penetration. That's nothing special for a marksman rifle. However, the Amendment also comes with the ability to select burst fire, allowing you to pump out damage at closer ranges, almost like an assault rifle. This makes it great against unarmored enemies like flesh mobs or hordes of voteless, and pretty good against lightly armored enemies like overseers. This weapon and the Adjudicator fill a similar role. They are both medium-range weapons that blur the line between marksman rifles and assault rifles. However, this one just happens to be light pen with higher damage. And don't forget about the bayonet, because the bayonet actually does penetrate medium armor, making it an interesting addition to a weapon that can only penetrate light armor. You can trade safety for penetration if you insist on stabbing somebody with this weapon. Overall, the Amendment is a pretty solid rifle. It's fun to use and it has its own niche. Plus, it fits really well with our next item, which is the RE2310 Honorary Guard armor set. This armor set is really, really good looking. It still has some classic chest armor, but the rest of it is very fancy and very gilded is the word I would use. You could pick apart all the different details on this armor set for minutes at a time. The helmet is very cool too. It very much fits with the theme, and I love the face. It looks like a mask that Sub-Zero or Scorpion would wear. This is a medium armor set with 100 armor rating. And the passive for this Warbond is Reinforced Epaulets, which comes with 3 different perks. The first perk increases the reload speed of primary weapons by 30%, which is great. This is one of the reasons that people love to use Siege Ready, and just having this perk already makes it into a pretty solid passive. The second perk gives you a 50% chance to avoid limb injuries. Not a bad perk, this could definitely help you out in a variety of different situations. And the final perk increases your melee damage by 50%. Another nice touch that can come in handy if you're using a melee weapon or something like the Amendment. Giving some extra damage to the bayonet is a pretty good idea. In fact, this whole passive feels like it was tailor-made to be used with the Amendment and the Constitution. The Amendment burns ammo really fast if you're using it on burst fire, and the Constitution takes way too long to reload 5 measly rounds. So the reload speed really does come in handy, especially with ceremonial weapons. And the melee damage fits really well with the bayonets. So they did a pretty good job at designing this passive around the ceremonial weapons. Next up, we have the Federation's Embrace cape. There's really nothing else to talk about on page 1, so I guess I'll show off this cape. It is a pretty important one after all. It's a classic design. It's the flag of Super Earth, reformatted to be worn by a bunch of bright-eyed teenagers that will soon be massacred. It's a very nice cape, but I'm not gonna fly these colors right now. Now we're moving on to page 2. And on page 2, we have the CQC-2 Saber. Unfortunately, the Saber is nothing special. It is extremely similar to the Combat Hatchet, which was already out when this Warbond was released, with the only real difference between these two weapons being the moveset. And it's not a very substantial change. It's not like you get some kind of Elden Ring weapon art with this thing, it's just different swings. Both of these weapons have the exact same damage per second, with the same stamina costs, and pretty much the exact same range. But if you don't want to buy the Combat Hatchet from the Superstore, then you'll get the Saber as an alternative when you buy this Warbond. I personally already owned the Combat Hatchet when this Warbond released, so the Saber was just like a small bonus to me. It was more of like having a collectible than anything else. The Saber and the Combat Hatchet are both tied for the best damage per second out of any melee weapon. The Saber is worth using if you enjoy how it looks and you enjoy the little fancy moveset it has. I just personally don't like melee, so this is not a big deal to me. I don't like this weapon very much. Next up, we have the RE-1861 Parade Commander Armor Set. This has to be the single fanciest armor set in the entire game. It just looks so nice. The colors, the patterns, the gloves, it's all great. And the helmet has to be one of the most iconic helmets in the game. Not only does it look great, but it actually gives you a reason to use the tip hat emote that was shown in last week's Warbond review. Plus, it can fit with a variety of different armors, because it mostly uses basic colors like black, gray, and gold. And you can probably tell by looking at it, but this is a light armor set, 50 armor rating. And of course it shares a passive with the previous armor set. As much as I love this armor set and the way it looks, I'm just not a big fan of light armor in general. But it definitely makes sense to be light armor. There's pretty much no armor on it at all. You're just a soldier that was supposed to be doing a ceremony or a parade, and you've gotten thrust into combat. This is a bit off topic, but I love how they started escalating the themes of the Warbonds over time. Last year, we began deploying truth enforcers to the front lines, pretty much sending the Gestapo to fight wars. Then we got urban legends, when we started sending riot control forces to fight against an ancient alien threat. Then we started sending radicalized suicide bombers in Servants of Freedom, recruiting cowboys with borderline justice, and now we're using gear that was meant for ceremonies with this Warbond. I think it's just a really neat way to show that Super Earth is pretty much throwing everything they have at this war, and it's only getting worse. Next up, we have the Humble Regalia Cape. Once again, there's not much else on this page, so I'll just show the cape. It's pretty great. It's just a nice, sleek design that fits well with the Parade Commander set. And it could fit well with anything else that's red and black. Time for page 3, and on page 3 we have the Decorated Hero title. It's a fine title, definitely nowhere near as memorable as something like Super Sheriff or Barrier of Skulls or Barrier of Heads, I can't remember what it is, but it fits well with the themes of this Warbond. It is all about being celebratory and momentous. Next up, we have the Sample Scanner Booster. This booster has a similar purpose to the Sample Extricator booster. which we covered in the last Warbond review. You don't get any bonuses for combat, or anything that will give you extra utility during the mission. Instead, this booster will give you a 15% chance to receive 2 samples when you pick 1 sample up. And this applies to every sample rarity. You can receive extra common, rare, and even extra super samples. If you were to equip this booster for an entire operation, and you pick up 100 rare samples during the entire operation, mathematically speaking, you should have around 15 extra rare samples at the end, which is great for anyone who is trying to upgrade their ship, and it's great for certain major orders too. If everyone ran this during an order when we need common samples, we could finish it roughly 15% faster, and you could even combo that with the sample extricator to get a few more. If you have to pick between the 2 sample boosters, definitely go with the sample scanner over the sample extricator, but they do synergize well together if you want to run both at once. Next up, we have the CQC-1 True Flag. The flag sucks. I'm done holding back on this thing. It's been half a year since it was released, and it's still garbage. I've been saying this forever. People tell me, don't disrespect the flag, don't do it, don't do it, face the wall, face the wall. Well, I don't give a damn about that anymore. Why would you willingly equip the stun lance in your support weapon slot for any reason other than to handicap yourself? Or if you want to roleplay it, I could see that too. But if we're gonna stay practical, this thing is practically a secondary that you put in your support weapon slot. Same damage, same effects, same range, same stamina cost, same everything as the stun lance. So for the love of God, just use the stun lance and save your support weapon slot for some actually good shit. I want to tell Arrowhead to buff the flag by giving it some unique properties. One cool idea that I saw online is that the user of the flag should taunt enemies. That way, you can play as a pseudo tank role like it's an MMO, and it would even make it more challenging for the person using it, plus it would make sense in the universe of Helldivers too. A win-win-win. And you could even make it automatically rally any nearby Sief troopers to you, allowing you to lead them into battle like the flag bearer and take the enemies head on. Just give it something, please. But I know in my heart that if they tried to do anything unique with the flag, then it would probably brick 1,000 more computers in the process. Moving on from that, we have the G142 Pyrotech. This is a very cool and very unique grenade. It is essentially repurposed pyrotechnics from a Super Earth parade. You throw it out, and it shoots sparks all around it. These sparks deal damage and can set enemies on fire, and after a short while, the grenade will explode, dealing a little bit of damage and continuing to spread fire to nearby enemies. The crazy thing about this grenade is that the sparks actually do anti-tank damage. Yeah, anti-tank damage. I don't know why this isn't told in the game. I don't know why this isn't mentioned in the description for the item, but this grenade can do damage to almost anything in the game. Not to mention that fire damage also penetrates heavy armor. So yeah, this grenade can be used against nearly anything. The problem is that it's very tricky to correctly use against a single enemy, but it's great for using against a group of enemies that are coming through a choke point. You will deal some pretty good damage to them and set them all on fire. It's really, really good if you can use it defensively. And did I mention that you can hold 6 of these by default? Yeah, you can hold more pyrotech grenades than any other throwable except for the throwing knives, but those don't count. And that means you can hold 8 pyrotechs if you bring the engineering kit passive or the integrated explosives passive. If you can learn how to use the pyrotech, then it will probably become one of your favorite grenades. And finally, we have the lockstep emote. This is a pretty iconic emote. It's one of the only emotes that you can use while moving, and it's an endless emote, so you can use it for however long you like. It fits really well with this Warbond, plus it has an Easter egg where sometimes it will play an entirely different animation. And I'm sorry, but I couldn't get the animation to trigger in my footage, but you can find that out for yourself. In conclusion, I actually like this Warbond. It is very memorable, and it features some excellent cosmetics. But as someone who doesn't like melee very much, it's pretty anemic. There's just not a lot of meat on these bones unless you actively use melee. The only quote-unquote melee weapon that I like in this Warbond is the Amendment, and even that is a light armor pen. So if you're in the cult of medium pen, then you will not like this one bit. The highlights of this Warbond are the surprising part. The Pyrotech grenade stands out as an excellent choice for a grenade, and the sample scanner has carved out its own niche. And I will admit that the armor passive is pretty good too. Not quite as good as Siege Ready, but it's not bad. If you want some awesome cosmetics, then yeah, this Warbond is amazing. But if you want something practical, then no, go look somewhere else. Force of Law. This is one of my favorite Warbonds when it comes to the concept and the visuals, and I really love the cosmetics and the armors. But Force of Law does have a few problems, especially with the weapons. It's not terrible, but it's not as good as some other Warbonds if you're just looking for a selection of great weapons. We are going to get started on page 1, and on page 1 we have the AR-23 Pacifier. The Pacifier is a neat little weapon, but it's not something that I like to use very often, and it's far from my first choice when it comes to assault rifles. It's an assault rifle with 55 damage per round and medium armor penetration, which is nothing special, but it does have the ability to stun enemies. So if you compare it to the other medium pen assault rifles like the Liberator Penetrator, the MA5C, it trades damage for stun, and it does reliably stun enemies. But most of the time I would just rather bring a different assault rifle that can deal more damage. I think that one of the biggest problems with this weapon is the lack of magazine customization. You can't put a drum mag on it, and that is just a shame because a drum mag would really help the Pacifier fit into that role of crowd control, you know, the thing that it's built to do. Instead, you are limited to 40 round magazines, which is less ammo per magazine than the Liberator Penetrator and the Coyote, which are two other great choices for a medium pen assault rifle. I think the Pacifier could be so much more, but unfortunately it's stuck being kind of mediocre. If you want a stun weapon for your primary slot, then the Pummeler is actually a better choice in my opinion. Sure, it doesn't penetrate medium armor, but it deals more damage per round with the same amount of stun, and you can use it one-handed. So it pairs really well with the Ballistic Shield, and it's really fun kind of loadout. It's like you're a little, riot control trooper, shield in one hand and an SMG in the other, and you can deal stun. It's like playing as a tank. I think that combo will do you much better than the Pacifier if you actually want a primary that stuns enemies. Next up, we have the BP-20 Correct Officer Armor Set, which is a great play on words. And this happens to be one of my favorite armor sets in the entire game. I love the look of the armor padding on the torso. It still looks sci-fi while still recognizable as like a law enforcement kind of armor padding. And all of the other armored bits are great too. This whole armor set looks realistic and awesome and kind of sci-fi at the same time. Plus, I love the color blue, especially a nice dark blue. That's my favorite color. So I'm obviously a fan of how the armor looks. Everything about it just suits me personally. And the helmet is awesome too. Not only does it look great on its own, but it's also a pretty clear homage to RoboCop, and that of course totally fits with Force of Law. Plus, if you're not a fan of the helmet, then the body armor can match with a variety of other helmets too, letting you actually have some control over how you want to look. This is a medium armor set with 100 armor rating, and the armor passive in this Warbond is called Ballistic Padding, and it comes with 3 different perks. The first perk reduces all damage taken to the chest by 25%, which is an all-around great perk to have. The second perk reduces all explosive damage taken by 25%, which is excellent if you're like me and you love to fight the bots. And the third perk makes you completely immune to bleeding damage, which is another amazing perk that anyone can get use out of. This passive really does just make you harder to kill in general, especially if you're going up against enemies that have explosives. so it's great against the bots and not bad against the Illuminate either. This passive doesn't have that much use against the bugs in particular, but being immune to bleed damage regardless is still an amazing perk that will definitely save your life time and time again. This is one of my favorite medium armor sets, and whenever I get the chance to run this armor and this passive against the bots, I always jump on it. Next up, we have the Signal Hold emote. This Warbond features several emotes like this. They aren't actually very practical, of course, they're just emotes, but they're great for role-playing and they fit in really well with this Warbond. And I may as well show off the vehicle patterns here too. They look amazing. The combination of black and blue with golden accents is just great, especially on the mechs. I think that this Warbond has some of the best vehicle patterns in the game, in my opinion, up there with Truth Enforcers and, of course, the ODST Warbond. Now we're moving on to page 2, and on page 2 we have the Stun Pods booster. And frankly, I think this is one of the worst boosters in the entire game. When you consider just how impactful the other boosters are and how necessary they can seem sometimes, this booster really just falls flat on its face. And the booster balance in Helldivers 2 is well, it's not very good, but that is a story for another time. All Stun Pods does is it adds a stun effect around any Hell Pods that hit the surface, which is fine. I mean, you aren't going to get much use out of this anyways. But don't forget that it also applies to you. You will be slowed down anytime you're near a recently dropped Hell Pod. So if you're desperately in need of a resupply, you know, tough shit. If you're right next to it when it goes off, you are slowed for a considerable amount of time. And this booster just isn't practical anyways. Nobody is calling in Hell Pods on enemies so that they can stun them. That's not a thing that people do. I think the only way to fix this booster is to make it similar to the armed resupply pods booster. Make it function just like that, but the resupply pod comes armed with a pacifier instead. That would actually be great. That would really be useful if you're being chased and you desperately need a resupply. It would help you stun all the enemies, and you'd get your ammo back, and it wouldn't be that overpowered anyways. Definitely no more overpowered than the big 4 boosters already are. But in its current state, this item is just filler in my opinion. Don't even bother getting this if you already have better things to spend your medals on. Don't waste your time. Next up, we have the GL52 Escalator. And I think that this is the best weapon in Force of Law, by far. It actually stands out on its own and has something unique to offer. The De-Escalator is a rotary grenade launcher. It can hold 6 grenades and it reloads round by round, so you never actually lose any ammo by reloading, just like the Punisher or the Senator. The grenades themselves essentially deal no damage, but they electrify any enemies near the area of impact, which penetrates heavy armor, stuns them, and deals some okay damage. It's actually pretty good for fighting groups of enemies. You can take out a whole bunch of chaff and deal some decent damage to medium enemies, of course, all while stunning them. If you combine this with a strong primary, then it's probably the best option for like a stun weapon in the entire game, in my opinion. Plus, the De-Escalator has this weird little bug where it doesn't seem to damage the user at all. I'm not sure what triggers this or how it works, but nonetheless, it's a great little perk that makes this weapon pretty damn strong, especially in close quarters. There are a few issues with this weapon. It doesn't have enough demolition force to destroy any meaningful buildings. Like, it can destroy some props and stuff that are found around the map, but, you know, who cares? It also has a very long reload if you need to reload every single round, so I would recommend taking any opportunity you can to reload the weapon, even if it's just a single grenade. Overall, this is actually a pretty good support weapon. It's not overpowered by any means, but it actually feels great to use, and it has carved out its own niche among the support weapon family. Next up, we have the BP32 Jackboot armor set. This armor set also looks really good. It's very similar to the Correct Officer armor set, but I generally prefer the way that the armor looks on that set instead of this one. One thing I really love about the armors in this Warbond overall is that you can mix and match them really well. They use the same color palettes and they're very similar in design. So you can take the jackboot helmet and slap it on the correct officer armor if you want to, and vice versa. And it's a really cool helmet. It kind of reminds me of the CQB helmet from Halo 3 and Halo Reach. This is a light armor set, 50 armor rating. And of course, it comes with the same passive as the correct officer armor set, so I don't need to repeat myself. But I personally think that the passive fits better with medium and heavy armor. I would rather embrace the tankiness that this passive gives you, but if you die a lot to explosives and bleeding while wearing light armor, then you might just like the jackboot armor set, because it is still a good option. Next up, we have the Signal Silence emote. This is another part of the Signal line of emotes that come with this Warbond, and like I said earlier, they're great for roleplay or, making videos and stuff like that. Or if someone thinks they're funny and they tell you to face the wall, you can just, tell them to shut the fuck up. Time for page 3. And on page 3, we have the Extrajudicial title. This title is great. Extrajudicial is a pretty awesome play on words, and of course, it just fits well with Force of Law. It's not as great as something like Super Sheriff or Barrier of Heads, but it's still pretty good. Next up, we have the AX Arc 3 Guard Dog Canine. This stratagem is honestly a great concept. We definitely need more Guard Dog variants. They're just a great, backpack choice, and this is a pretty damn cool one. This is pretty much just an electric Guard Dog. It sends out a wave of arc damage to any enemies in front of the drone, dealing some pretty good damage, penetrating tank armor, like tank 3 armor, so like almost every armor in the game, and stunning enemies for a short amount of time. It's really good at helping you deal with crowds of enemies, no matter if they're small enemies, medium enemies, or large enemies. It will deal damage and stun them no matter what. So it's a really great version of the Guard Dog. It doesn't have the same range as the standard Guard Dog, but it's still really good. The actual problem with this stratagem is that you can actually very easily kill your teammates by using it. You don't want to be near your squad if you're running this. Unless, of course, you and your entire squad are running arc-resistant armor, then you should be very careful with this thing. But that's not a bad idea. If you got a whole team to run arc armor and run this backpack with some Tesla towers and shit like that, you could absolutely clean up. You would destroy that mission. So yeah, I actually think that this is a great stratagem, but it's so good that you might kill your team with it. Next up, we have the G109 Urchin. And the Urchin is like a mega stun grenade. It's like a hybrid between a stun and a thermite. You can stick it to large enemies and it will do a great job at keeping them stunned for a long while, like 15 seconds or something like that. So it really excels at what it was built to do. But the question is, do you need the Urchin, or would you rather focus your efforts on killing your enemies quickly before you ever need to stun them in the first place? Sure, it's great for stunning things like War Striders and Bile Titans and all manner of giant, large enemies. But a lot of the time, I would rather just bring some thermite, stick those bastards, and just run away while they blow up. You can hold 4 Urchins at once, so you can stun a large number of enemies at once. If you plan on using the Urchin, you gotta back it up with some stratagems that can devastate a tanky enemy. Something like the Orbital Precision Strike would actually pair really well with the Urchin. So that could work out if you're very skilled with both of these different things. However, a lot of the time it's not for me. I'm a thermite lover through and through, so I'm gonna stick with what I already know, and that works just fine for me. But the Urchin is, again, very, very effective at its role. It actually does its role really well, so don't write it off entirely. And finally, our last item today is the Signal Group Up emote. What a way to end it. This is yet another emote that comes with Force of Law, and it's great that they gave out so many, and they're very unique from the other emotes in the game. These are less funny and more serious, more tactical, but they probably don't appeal very much to the casual player base. This stuff really only appeals to like, milsim role players or people that are filming for videos. But again, it's more emotes than we usually get in a single Warbond, ever, so I'll take it. In conclusion, Force of Law comes with a lot of items. You definitely get a lot of bang for your buck in this Warbond. But the items are also a pretty mixed bag. You have great items like the De-Escalator and the Canine, but you also have items like the Pacifier and the Stun Pods booster, so it's really up to you, to decide whether or not this Warbond will appeal to you. I really love the cosmetics and the designs for the armor sets. They all just look amazing and I use them very often. I love using the armor against the boss. I know I said that, but it just kind of fits really well for that role. The vehicle patterns are beautiful and the capes are pretty great too. They're not too flashy, but they still stand out. I think Force of Law is a great Warbond if you already have your fundamental Warbonds, like Democratic Detonation, Dust Devils, Steeled Veterans. But there are, of course, more important Warbonds than Force of Law. But if you want something with style and a few unique items, definitely pick up Force of Law if you like the sound of anything I've said here. If this Warbond actually came with the Warrant, then I would say it's one of the best, but unfortunately, they decided to release the Warrant in the Superstore instead. Anyways, it's still a good Warbond and I like it quite a bit. It has been about a week since Control Group was released, and now that I've had time to unlock and test everything, it seems like a good time for my first Warbond review. I'll be going page by page, discussing the various unlocks and showing off how they work. To be clear, this is only about content that is in the Control Group Warbond itself. I'm not discussing anything that was added to the Superstore. Starting off on page 1, we have the AD-26 Bleeding Edge armor set. This is the new medium armor set for this Warbond, and it's your first chance to get your hands on the new armor passive, Adreno Defibrillator. This passive allows you to resurrect yourself once if your character isn't dismembered. You will come back to life, constantly draining health, your vision will be colorless, and the audio will sound very distorted. You will also be unable to sprint. You're effectively a Helldiver zombie when this perk is triggered, but it's good for dropping a stratagem at the last minute, like an orbital strike or a minefield, and it lets you have one big last stand where you can take out some enemies and bring them to the grave with you. This passive also gives you a 2-second boost to stim healing, and gives you 50% arc damage resistance, so it's pretty good against the Illuminate. Next up on page 1 is the VG-70 Variable. This is a really unique weapon, and it's very strong if you can use it correctly. It is a 7-barreled volley gun with 7 rounds per barrel, and it deals 85 damage per round with light armor penetration. It has 3 different firing modes. Auto mode is a standard full auto rifle with adjustable fire rate. Volley mode fires every round in a single barrel, dealing great damage in an instant. And then there's total mode, which fires every single round in every single barrel immediately. This deals over 4,000 damage, but it will ragdoll you if you fire more than 22 rounds with this mode, so make sure that you use it with caution. There is limited customization available for the variable. You can change the sights and the patterns, but nothing else. Overall, the variable is an incredible option for light penetration. If you can reliably hit the enemy weak points, then you're gonna love this weapon. Page 1 also has the Plaz 45 Epoch. The Epoch is the first plasma-based support weapon, but it shares some traits with other support weapons that we're already familiar with. It needs to charge before firing, like the Railgun or the Quasar Cannon. It also has the same display as the Railgun, showing your charge on the back and below the sight. It deals 400 damage with heavy armor penetration if you fire it right when it charges. You can keep charging it to increase the damage to 800 and give it anti-tank penetration, but be careful. This is when the weapon becomes dangerous, and like the Railgun, if you hold the trigger for too long, the Epoch will explode and will most likely kill you. The Epoch is great against heavy enemies. It definitely fits in with the other support weapons. You just have to be careful with it. If you have really good timing, then this is going to be a very effective weapon against pretty much anything in the game. And finally, for page 1, there is the Conductor of Brilliance card and cape. This is a neat design that fits well with the themes of the Warbond. It is clearly inspired by conductors and circuit boards, so it's pretty cool if you ask me. We're going to start off page 2 with the AD-49 Apollonian. The Apollonian is the heavy armor for this Warbond, so it's pretty self-explanatory, since I already explained the armor passive. So if you want a heavy version of that armor set, then there you go. Page 2 also comes with a stratagem, the A-LAS-98 Laser Sentry. This entire Warbond is very unique, and the Laser Sentry is definitely the most unique out of all the standard sentries. It does exactly what you would expect. It's just a giant version of the LAS-5 scythe. Like the rest of the laser weapons, it doesn't have a standard ammo pool, but it will fire until it overheats and explodes. So if it has to fight off a giant wave of enemies, you should expect it to explode at some point. But if it's defending an area against a slow trickle of enemies, it excels. It swiftly kills them and you don't need to worry about it running out of ammo at some point. The uptime is great too. It feels like it lasts for a long time, so it's perfect for long-term defense against pretty much any kind of enemies. Just don't let it get overwhelmed, or it will overheat and blow up. And finally, for page 2, there is the Over Artifice Triumphant card and cape. This design is very similar to the Conductor of Brilliance design from page 1, inspired by circuits and circuit boards. This is just another cool design, and very fitting with the Warbond. Now for the last page, page 3, and we're going to start off with the G31 Arc. This is a pretty great grenade. It's obviously an arc grenade, meaning it's great for crowd control. It functions like every other arc weapon. It will shock an enemy, and that will chain to other enemies around it. It stuns enemies and can stagger them too, all while dealing some decent damage and penetrating heavy armor. There is a problem with it though. It doesn't have enough demolition force to destroy enemy buildings. This isn't a surprise, but this means it's only good against the enemies themselves. Make sure that you're bringing something else with destruction force if you bring this along with you. Next up, we have the Lift 182 Warp Pack. This is my favorite part of the Warbond. It's such an awesome idea, a backpack that lets you teleport short distances and even telefrag enemies and pass through walls. This makes it incredible for farming super credits, since the Warp Pack lets you warp through bunker doors, loot anything inside, and warp back out again, all without needing another player. Being able to do this by yourself is a huge bonus. Even during normal missions, you'll be able to go and take out bunkers by yourself instead of needing to interrupt the mission and get your allies to come help you. The Warp Pack itself is very experimental and unstable. You can't spam it, unless you're looking for trouble. You can see the stability down in the bottom left. If you empty that bar, the Warp Pack will implode, destroying itself and killing you in the process. You can get away with using it twice in a row, however this will damage you and sometimes break your limbs. It is recommended to only warp when it's fully stable, but you can use it twice in a row if you're in a pinch. Overall, this is a great backpack. It's very unique, it's very useful, and I could see this being a popular option for movement, like the Jump Pack or the Hover Pack. Page 3 also has the Protect Eardrums emote. This is a fun little emote, but I can't see myself taking it over the other emotes I have equipped right now. What we really need is a bigger emote wheel. 4 is definitely not enough. If we have 8 slots for emotes, that would be much better. And finally, we have the title of Exemplary Subject. It's a cute little addition, and it fits with the Warbond. And now let's ask the question, how good is this Warbond? In my opinion, this is one of the best Warbonds in recent memory. It's definitely my favorite Warbond of the year. It has a unique aesthetic and even more unique gear. The armor passive, the variable, and the warp pack are all one of a kind. These are truly unique items. Everything in this Warbond is useful. And even though I love Masters of Ceremony and Force of Law for their style, not everything in those Warbonds is actually useful. But Control Group is packed to the brim with items that are not only stylish and unique, but are also very useful. This Warbond opens up new possibilities like the Warp Pack's ability to go through bunker doors. That's something that could never have been done before. So I give Control Group 2 thumbs way up, and I hope that future Warbonds will be just as individual and impactful as this one. It finally happened. After nearly 16 years on ice, you can finally play as an ODST again, thanks to the official ODST Warbond in Helldivers 2. Just being able to say that, and the fact that that's real, makes me so happy. So on this very special episode of Warbond Review, we are taking a look at the Obedient Democracy Support Troopers, and we are just gonna dive right in on page 1 with the MA5C Assault Rifle. The classic assault rifle from Halo 3 and Halo 3 ODST is back, and it's better than ever. One thing this Warbond has done incredibly well is taking the weapons from Halo and making them feel like real weapons. If you check the description for the MA5C, it's actually revealed that ODSTs in the Helldivers universe come from a cartoon called the Obedient Democracy Support Troopers, and it's even produced by Martian Armory, a clear reference to the Mars-based Mizraya Armory from Halo. The MA5C deals 80 damage per round and penetrates medium armor, and it has the same 32 round capacity that it did in the Halo games. It's a good side grade to the current medium pen assault rifles. It has great ergonomics, and it even comes with the ammo counter from Halo, making it the only weapon in the game that displays its current ammo count. It doesn't have the magazine capacity of the Liberator Penetrator, and it doesn't have the raw damage of the Adjudicator, but it lands right in the middle as a very easy to use assault rifle. The only major downside is the lack of customization. There are no options for attachments or even weapon patterns. So, unfortunately, what you see here is what you get, and this is the case for all of the Halo weapons. Page 1 also comes with the beautiful A9 Helljumper armor set. Visually, they nailed it. This armor is almost perfect, and they properly adjusted the armor to fit Helldivers 2. It doesn't look out of place at all. In fact, I think they look right at home next to the Helldivers. Even the name is perfect. A9 is clearly a reference to Alpha 9, which is the ODST squad you play as in Halo 3 ODST. The only thing I wish was different would be the gloves. In Halo 3 ODST, the rookie wears fingerless gloves, but that's only a minor complaint. The rest of it is perfect. The armor passive in this Warbond is called Feet First. You make 50% less noise while moving, you can detect POIs from 30% further away, and you can no longer break your legs while wearing this armor. The 50% less noise while moving is a lot more powerful than you might think. There were times during my stream yesterday where it almost felt bugged. I was just walking around, minding my own business during some points. So it's incredible for stealth builds, and I've tested it out further. Yeah, if you're not sprinting, you can just walk around and do whatever you want. The extra POI detection is a nice touch. It fits in well with the ODSTs thematically, but for experienced players, this part of the passive won't be a big deal at all. And immunity to leg injuries is actually really useful. No longer will you be crippled during a battle, forced to walk on broken legs until you shoot up again. Overall, this is a solid medium armor set with a cool and unique passive, and I'm not taking it off ever again because it's too beautiful, and the helmet stays on during sex. Page 1 also has the Honored Heirloom card and the Honored Heirloom cape. Honored Heirloom is just a great touch. Wearing the Helljumper logo on your cape and representing them in your player card is just great, and I'm glad they treated the logo and the name with the respect that so many Halo fans give it as well. We also have the mean green vehicle patterns. These patterns are spread across the various pages in this Warbond, but I'm just gonna show them all off here. Anything I have to say about one will apply to the others as well. But it is a very solid addition to the vehicle customization, and I'm definitely gonna use the ones for the shuttle and the FRV. The only thing I wish was different would be the drop pod. I wish we got a full model swap that made them look like similar to the ODST drop pods, but that's really not a big deal. You don't even see the pods once they hit the ground, you know, they're stuck right in the ground, so it doesn't really matter that much. Now, we're gonna move on to page 2. And on page 2, we have the M7S SMG. This is the first suppressed weapon we have ever gotten, and it's not bad for a one-handed primary weapon. It deals 70 damage per round, which is equivalent to the Knight and the STA-11. However, the M7S does have a lower fire rate than both of those SMGs, meaning that it does worse damage overall than those two weapons. It does have a magazine capacity of 48, putting it on the high end of SMG magazine capacity. But the main thing that will attract people to this gun, apart from it being an ODST weapon of course, is definitely the suppressor. So how is the suppressor? Is it any good? Well, it's actually incredibly good at keeping your position concealed during combat. Here you can see in the footage that some enemies don't even realize they're being shot at. So yes, this is the ultimate primary weapon for stealth divers, and it's really fun to shoot too. They definitely took inspiration from Halo 3 ODST for the sound design, and that reload animation is beautiful. I definitely recommend this SMG to anyone who has been wanting a stealth playstyle. If you're looking for pure damage and pure stats, the Knight is just kind of better in that regard though. Page 2 also comes with the A35 Recon armor set. We already got the iconic ODST armor, so of course they had to add Veronica Dare's armor as well. For those who don't know, Recon is a legendary armor set from Halo 3. You had to receive this armor directly as a gift from Bungie. That's how prestigious it was. Once Halo 3 ODST was released, 7 achievements known as the Vidmaster Challenges were added to both Halo 3 and Halo 3 ODST. Completing all 7 of these achievements would allow you to log in to Bungie.net and unlock Recon for yourself in Halo 3. In 2012, Bungie gave Recon armor to everybody as a final goodbye to the Halo franchise. Now you can see why it's such a fabled and legendary set of armor. It's iconic to the Halo franchise. There were so many "can I have Recon" memes going around, so much trolling and stuff, and now Recon has made it all the way to Helldivers 2, and I gotta say that they did it justice. If you compare it with Dare's Recon armor from Halo 3 ODST, they nailed it. The only problem I have with the Recon armor is that it's functionally identical to the Helljumper armor. They have the same passive and they're both medium armor sets. I thought that there would be some kind of armor difference between the two, like one would be a few points higher or a few points lower, but it's not a big deal. Basic medium armor is still great, and I'm sure that some people will be glad that both sets are the same for gameplay. And of course, page 2 has the Eye of the Clandestine card and cape. They went so hard on this Warbond that they even added purely Oni-themed cosmetics. This cape is awesome, and of course there's a card too, so if you're a big fan of Oni lore from Halo, this is an awesome design that you're gonna love. Or if you just want to go for the full Dare loadout, because she was Oni, of course, this is perfect for that too. Now we're going to page 3, and we're starting page 3 with the M90A shotgun. This shotgun really surprised me with how much I like it. This version of the classic Halo shotgun is the one from Halo 3, of course, and that was always my least favorite shotgun from the Bungie games. It would only hold 6 shells, and it was practically a melee weapon with how limited the range on it was. But this Warbond took that shotgun and made it function like a shotgun should. It deals 605 damage per shell with light armor pen, which is an insane amount of damage to deal in a single shot. It can really do some work against enemies like Overseers. Another thing that really surprised me was the spread and the range. The spread feels really tight when compared with other unmodified shotguns, and it feels like it can do some great damage over a couple dozen meters. Plus, it loads rounds very quickly, so the small capacity isn't the end of the world. And in general, I think it's a really solid choice as far as shotguns go, so I would definitely recommend this weapon. Our final weapon in this Warbond is the M6C SOCOM pistol. This is another really iconic ODST weapon. It's the default sidearm that most of the ODSTs use in Halo 3 ODST, and it feels super familiar to use if you've played the game before. The easiest weapon to compare the Magnum to would be the Peacekeeper. The Magnum does 100 damage per round with a magazine capacity of 12, while the Peacemaker does 85 damage per round with a capacity of 15. The Peacemaker comes with slightly more damage per magazine, but the Magnum can deliver almost as much damage while using fewer rounds, and it can do it faster. Plus, it has a suppressor. But one odd thing about the suppressor on this weapon is that it feels a lot less consistent than the SMG's suppressor. It still worked sometimes, but there were also times where it felt like the SMG was a lot stealthier than the Magnum. This may be because of the rounds they fire. In Halo lore, the SMG fires really small 5mm rounds, while the Magnum fires 50 cal, like high explosive or something crazy like that. So naturally, it would be much, much louder. This could also be a giant placebo effect. I could be talking out my ass right now. This is just what I've observed by trying to stealth around with both weapons for the past day. But still, this is a really solid pistol, and it definitely appeals to me as a Halo fan, so I'll be using it pretty often. And of course, it is the only suppressed secondary weapon, so it has that going for it as well. And the final item for today is the Rookie title. They could not have picked a better title in my opinion. It fits in really well with some of the other titles like Cadet and Super Private. Plus, it's a great homage to an underrated Halo character. And you get the Helljumper emblem as your little icon in the bottom left corner, so yeah, that is never coming off. In conclusion, I think this is a pretty good Warbond. It might be a tough sell for non-Halo fans because of the price and the lack of earnable super credits, but the contents are pretty great, even for people that aren't fans of Halo. You get 4 new weapons, all with unique characteristics and awesome designs, and you get 2 new armor sets with a new armor passive. Plus, you get everything you need to expand your stealth loadouts, and that's going to be a big selling point for some people. I think if this was a premium Warbond, it was 1,000 super credits and you got 300 back, this would be a no-brainer. I think that paying more and receiving less for it though, you're going to need to think about it first. So in general, I think there are more important Warbonds to get first, but for Halo fans, this is a must-buy. And for Halo fans that haven't played Helldivers 2, you're missing out on the closest thing to a new Halo game, and I don't even know why you're still watching this video. If you have a current-gen console or a PC that can run Helldivers 2, go out and get the game right now. You will not regret joining the Helldivers and finally dropping in feet first into Hell for the first time in 16 long years. Dust Devils. This Warbond is considered to be one of the best Warbonds in all of Helldivers 2, and for good reason. Dust Devils comes with some amazing weapons and some great stratagems. Not to mention that this Warbond has some really good looking armor and some awesome cosmetics, all of which are inspired by a certain classic sci-fi franchise. The E710 must flow. And of course, we're starting off on page 1. And on page 1, we have the AR2 Coyote. We are starting off strong with one of the most beloved items that we have ever seen in the history of Helldivers 2. And even though it recently got a small nerf, it is still one of the best assault rifles we have ever had. The Coyote deals 75 damage per round with medium armor penetration and 45 rounds per magazine. On paper, that might not sound like anything special until you realize that the Coyote also sets enemies on fire, which is a huge bonus for an assault rifle, or really any automatic weapon. Being able to set enemies on fire from long range is pretty incredible, and it's the only rifle in the entire game with incendiary rounds. So you don't want to mag dump enemies with the Coyote. You should shoot them until they're on fire, and then move on to another target. Constantly change up your targets. That is how you're supposed to get the most out of your Coyote. And if you can use the Coyote effectively, then it is extremely ammo efficient when compared to other assault rifles. It may not have the same raw damage per bullet as the MA5C or the Adjudicator, but it is still considered to be the best assault rifle in the game by most people. Plus, I'm just glad that we finally have an AK-style rifle in the game, and it's a great rendition of like a sci-fi space AK. I wholeheartedly recommend the Coyote. It's a really fun weapon to use, and it's very effective in the right hands. Next up, we have the DS-42 Federation's Blade armor set. And if you're a fan of the Dune movies and you want to play as the Sardaukar, then this is the armor set for you. All of the armors that released in the Dust Devils update are heavily inspired by Dune. And if you haven't seen the new Dune movies for some reason, then you should go watch them right now. They're just great sci-fi movies. It really feels perfect for an armor set that was designed to go into foreign worlds, into foreign uncharted territory. It has a retro-futuristic charm to it, and it's perfectly suited for the armor passive in this Warbond, which is called Desert Stormer. Desert Stormer comes with 2 perks. The first perk gives you 40% damage resistance against all kinds of elemental damage, and that means fire damage, gas damage, acid, and electrical damage. This is great for any bug planets that have dragon roaches on them. Of course, hive worlds are the most common, but they tend to creep up in other areas too. This will help shield you from the fire that comes from the dragon roaches and the acid from the standard bugs. Plus, it will help protect you from any elemental damage that you or your squad decide to bring into a mission, like if you start dropping Tesla towers or, gas grenades. This passive can help make sure that you won't die to your own friends' damage or even your own damage. The other perk increases your throwing distance by 20%, making it great for tossing grenades into bug holes. In my opinion, this passive was tailor-made for fighting the bugs. They're currently the only faction that can use multiple types of elemental damage, and extra throwing distance is really good for when you're in the middle of like a wide open nest and you just need to throw your grenade a bit further just so you can get it into a hole and take the enemies out. I really like this armor set in general. I quite like the passive against the bugs, and I'm a huge fan of the Dune movies, of course, and the armor set just kind of looks great on its own merit anyway. Plus, I'm also a big fan of heavy armor, and this is a heavy armor set with 150 armor rating. So yeah, I totally recommend this armor set, especially if you like heavy armor, if you like the passive, and of course, if you like the Sardaukar. There's not much else of note on page 1, so I'm just going to show off the Rattlesnake vehicle pattern, which is a pretty cool pattern. It's just a kind of, standard desert camo kind of thing, but I find it to be pretty appealing. The only problem with this pattern is the same problem that I had with the pattern from Viper Commandos, being that it only looks good in certain biomes. It is a desert, camo. You're not going to bring this into like a snow area or anything like that. It's going to look very out of place on most maps, especially any maps that don't take place in like a city or a town, but I still think that this is a good addition to the vehicle pattern family. Now we're moving on to page 2. And on page 2, we have the S11 Spear Gun. The Spear Gun has quickly become one of my favorite support weapons in all of Helldivers 2, period. It is a simple support weapon. It doesn't require an ammo backpack, and you can stay mobile while reloading. So what does it do? Well, it obviously fires spears at enemies, which can penetrate tank armor, and they explode into a cloud of gas on impact. So you can deal some great damage to any enemy from a distance, hit them with the gas status effect, and you will leave behind a cloud of gas on the enemy for those who come after. So, you can deal great damage from a distance, leave the enemy confused, and deal some extra damage to anything surrounding your target. Plus, it comes with enough demolition force to destroy things like bug holes and fabricators. So the spear gun has a ridiculous amount of utility for a weapon that doesn't require an ammo backpack or a stationary reload at all. And I didn't even mention that it can stagger enemies. It can stagger nearly any enemy in the entire game. The spear gun is just so useful against nearly everything in the game, and that's just a great thing. It's great against all of the different enemy factions, and it can be useful against small groups, groups of large enemies, and even giant, factory striders and bile titans. This is easily one of my favorite support weapons in the entire game, and I absolutely recommend it to everyone watching. Go out and get Dust Devils and try the spear gun for yourself. Next up, we have the EAT 700 Expendable Napalm. If you're a fan of the Expendable Anti-Tank, then you will probably like the Expendable Napalm as well. It functions just like the EAT. You call it down and the Hell Pod gives you 2 single-use launchers. The Expendable Napalm fires out a projectile that explodes on impact and can set enemies on fire, of course, and it will spread bomblets just like the Airburst rocket launcher does. And each of those bomblets will also spread fire on impact, so you can quickly cover an entire area in napalm and deal some great damage while you're at it. The initial projectile is also anti-tank, so you can use this weapon to deal damage to pretty much anything in the game, but results may vary depending on exactly what enemy you're using it against. This weapon is great against groups, like if a bunch of enemies just get dropped off in front of you from like a bot drop or whatever. This weapon will kill almost all of them if you can land your shot correctly. You typically want to land it right in the middle of a group of enemies, like right on whoever's standing in the middle of that group. It will just devastate them. It's incredible. It's like a safer version of the Airburst rocket launcher. Since it doesn't detonate on proximity, it will always travel to where you just shoot it and devastate the enemy forces. And of course, it still has a modest amount of demolition force, so it can destroy bug holes and fabricators if need be, but you definitely want to save this thing for groups of enemies instead. It's effective against a wide variety of enemies, so you don't exactly need to pick your shots carefully, just land it right in the middle of a group of enemies and watch it go to work. I definitely prefer the Expendable Napalm over the EAT, I just think it's way more fun, but they're both good stratagems, and it would be pretty fun if you ran a whole loadout based on expendable weapons. I think that would be a pretty fun idea. Maybe it'll be a good idea for a video, who knows. And of course, these expendable weapons are easy to share with a friend, since you get 2 of them, so it's pretty fun to enjoy with a friend. Next up, we have the DS-191 Scorpion Armor Set. This armor set is inspired by the Atreides soldiers from Dune, especially the helmet. It looks great. The armor itself looks really good on sandy planets. It fits in well with the environment, and I would hope so because it's very inspired by Dune, and it's a very unique looking armor set. It's a lot scrappier than most armors in the game, and it's not symmetrical, but it has a really good style about it. It feels practical, but also stylish, of course, and it still keeps that kind of retro-futuristic look to it, and kind of like a reminiscent of Star Wars is what I would say. This armor set, of course, has the same passive as the first armor set, the Federation's Blade set, but this is a medium armor set with 100 armor rating. So of course, it's not as defensive as the Federation's Blade set, so it doesn't exactly synergize with the passive quite as well, but you can stay mobile while still keeping some extra resistance to the elements, and of course increased throwing distance. Plus, the description for this armor is pretty great, it's pretty funny, it's a funny little Star Wars reference, and of course, I like that. So yeah, both the armor sets in this Warbond are pretty good. I of course prefer the heavy armor, that's just more my speed, but they're both pretty solid. Time for page 3, and on page 3 we have the Barrier of Heads title. This is a really awesome title, and it's very fitting for Dust Devils. It comes across as very fanatical and violent, which totally matches the style of this Warbond. Next up, we have the MS-11 Solo Silo. And the Solo Silo is essentially another expendable support weapon, but it's not quite as simple as that. It is a hellpod that buries itself in the ground and functions as a small missile silo. Then you can retrieve a laser designator from the silo and use it to paint a target for the missile to destroy. And trust me, it will destroy your target, almost guaranteed. It is capable of destroying a wide variety of enemy buildings, including command bunkers, shrieker nests, and spore spewers. However, it cannot destroy some larger structures like stratagem jammers, which is a bit disappointing, but I can understand that it would likely trivialize jammers if that were the case. It can also take out some large enemies like Bile Titans and Factory Striders in a single strike, making it one of the most deadly items that the Helldivers have access to. It does require more effort and more thought than a standard support weapon, but it does reward patience and careful strategy. The solo silo is a really cool and really unique stratagem. I quite like it. It's unlike everything else in the game, and I can recommend it, but it might not be for everyone. Next up, we have the G7 Pineapple. This grenade is incredible at taking out groups of enemies. It's definitely my favorite grenade for just downright killing some enemies. The pineapple explodes 2.4 seconds after being armed, and the initial explosion spreads shrapnel and deals some decent damage, acting pretty much like a frag grenade. But the pineapple also acts as a cluster bomb, similar to the airburst rocket launcher or the expendable napalm from earlier. It spawns a cluster of smaller explosives that will spread out and deal some pretty great damage when you actually add it all up together. It's also capable of destroying certain enemy buildings, standard stuff like fabricators and bug holes. Sadly, you can only hold 3 of them at a time, but they are very strong, so that pretty much makes up for it. It's definitely not ideal for taking out things like bug holes. You should bring the frag grenade for that instead, since you can carry 6 frags instead of 3, but when it comes to taking out enemy groups, the pineapple is arguably the best grenade in the game for that singular purpose. Plus, it's just really fun to use. I've always been a big fan of the airburst rocket launcher and, other assortments of explosions, so the pineapple is really fun, and it's just a solid addition to anyone's arsenal if they want something more standard, but also powerful. And finally, we have the Raiders Cheer emote. This emote is great. If you've ever seen any of my other videos or read my name on YouTube, then you know that I'm a fan of Star Wars, and this is straight up just what the Tusken Raiders do in Star Wars, and it's even called Raiders Cheer, so I appreciate the reference and I think it's pretty cool. In conclusion, Dust Devils is an incredible warbond. You get a really, really good assault rifle, a great grenade, and some of the coolest support weapons in the entire game. Some really, really unique stuff. Stuff you definitely won't see in other warbonds at all. Plus, you get some really awesome armor sets and some really cool cosmetics. The capes are great, and so are the vehicle patterns, as well as the emote and the title. There's really nothing bad about Dust Devils. Perhaps the armor passive could be stronger or have another perk, but that is a really minor complaint. It's still very good in some situations, especially if you never got the Killzone armor sets. It's essentially a side grade to the passive that came out with that crossover. And if you're a fan of Dune, then you're sure to love the armor sets anyways. Overall, Dust Devils is just incredible. I have really no complaints about it. And the Superstore update for Dust Devils is pretty great too. You can get a Fremen style armor and the machete, which is a very unique melee weapon, and it's my personal favorite among all of the melee weapons in the game. It combos very well with the emote from Servants of Freedom. You raise your sword in the air just like Paul Atreides. You can make a badass Dune cosplay with these 2 warbonds and their items. Anyways, I definitely recommend Dust Devils to pretty much everybody. New players and returning players should both check this warbond out because you can get some really incredible items from it. And if you play Helldivers 2 regularly and you somehow haven't picked up Dust Devils yet, then you better get down on that super credit grind because this shit is good. Python Commandos. This warbond was announced to incredible hype. The game has been very functional lately, so it was the perfect time for a new warbond, and the trailer alone was selling people on the warbond. It sold me, This warbond has some of the most unique and fun gear that we've ever gotten. Period. I can already tell you that I recommend this Warbond, but I'll stop before I get ahead of myself, because we're going to start out on page 1 with the GL21-12 Assault Rifle. With this weapon, you not only get an assault rifle, but you also get an underbarrel grenade launcher, which is a first for Helldivers 2. You can switch between the assault rifle and the grenade launcher by holding the reload key and interacting with the little, weapon menu there, which can be very useful when you need to quickly blow something up. But it's also good against enemies too. It's essentially just the grenade pistol strapped to your gun, and I know that a lot of people are going to be very happy about that. But how about the actual rifle itself? Well, it's not bad. It's very similar to the standard Liberator in terms of firepower and magazine size and how much damage you can kind of squeeze out of one mag. So it's definitely good enough for a light pen assault rifle, but there is one major flaw with this weapon, which is the ammo economy. It kind of makes sense because you get grenades and ammo, like standard rifle ammo, but you will run out of ammo much faster than most other assault rifles. So I definitely recommend using the Siege Ready passive with this weapon. It will give you much more ammo to work with, and it will help you reload the grenade launcher faster too. Overall, the 1-2 isn't the total game changer that I was expecting it to be, but it's still a really solid addition to the assault rifle family, and it's very fun to use. Plus, it does something that no other assault rifle can do, which is of course the grenade launcher, so it definitely has its own place in the sandbox of Helldivers 2. Next up, we have the RS-20 Constrictor armor set. This armor set looks like it was pulled straight out of Viper Commandos, and that's not a bad thing in my opinion. The body armor itself looks great. Like most of the armor in this game, it actually looks like something that could be created and worn in real life. It looks like, actual body armor, and it follows the tradition of the Commando Warbonds by letting you show off some skin, of course, and it comes with a bunch of neat little gadgets and pouches on the belt, which are just there for show, of course, but they look really nice. The helmet is great too. It's yet another great looking helmet design from Arrowhead. I swear to God, every helmet in this game looks good. I think they all look great. And you even get a bandana for infinite ammo. This is a light armor set with 50 armor, and the armor passive in this Warbond is called Rock Solid, which comes with 2 different perks. The first perk increases your melee damage by 100%, which is very fitting for this Warbond, seeing as they already did the same thing for Viper Commandos with Peak Physique, and the defoliation tool, which we will get to later, will benefit heavily from this perk if you use them together. And the other perk simply makes you more resistant to being knocked down and ragdolled. This is a great combination of perks, and I think that this passive is now the best passive for melee builds. You can resist being ragdolled, which is very useful if you want to stay up close to your enemy, and you get double melee damage. Again, this really is perfect for the upcoming defoliation tool. You need to stay up close for an extended amount of time for that weapon to reach its full potential, so ragdoll resistance and melee damage are a perfect combo for any melee user. Plus, it's just a neat little armor set. Next up, we have the AX Flam 75 Guard Dog Hot Dog. Jesus. Finally, we have the flamethrower guard dog that we have all been waiting for, and it is exactly what you would expect. It's a guard dog with a flamethrower attached to it. It is extremely effective against pretty much anything, anything with heavy armor or below, including your own teammates and sometimes even yourself. So be careful with this thing. It might be fun and it might look like a toy, but it's definitely not a toy. It's not safe for kids. I've seen this thing kill flesh mobs all on its own, and of course fire can penetrate heavy armor too, so it's good against pretty much everything up to heavy. It can fly a decent distance away from you and burn down enemies very efficiently. It can kind of, lock off whole choke points for you, just like you would do yourself with a flamethrower. It's rather effective. It's better than I thought it would be. It's pretty intense for a little robot. This is the missing piece of the puzzle for any fire-based loadouts. If you like to run fire loadouts, then you will definitely need this item. It will absolutely make you happy if you're looking for some new incendiary gear. I definitely recommend this item. It's fun, it's effective, it's something that I've wanted for a long time. Just be careful with it because it's gonna kill some teammates. Now we're moving on to page 2. And on page 2 we have the CQC9 defoliation tool. Now I'm not really a fan of melee in this game, at least I haven't been for a long time, but the defoliation tool really took me by surprise. It is way better than I thought it was going to be, and it's actually very, very fun to use. The defoliation tool deals 300 damage and penetrates medium armor, which, you know, sounds pretty good, but it actually gains armor penetration and demolition force the longer you use it against an enemy, eventually increasing to anti-tank penetration with 30 demolition force. That's right, you can essentially kill any enemies in the game with this thing. It's really good. On my stream we had a guy cut a War Strider in half. Yeah, a War Strider, and he didn't even break a sweat. I would show the clip here, but I'm too goddamn lazy to go and find that, so make sure you tune into my streams to see more crazy shit like that. The defoliation tool is by far the best melee weapon in Helldivers 2. You can even use it to destroy things like foliage, of course, and even buildings like fabricators and bioprocessors and parked warp ships. This is a wet dream for any fans of Doom or any of you insane 40k fans that feel the need to just cut aliens in half. This is definitely one of the most fun weapons in any Warbond, and I can't believe I'm saying that about a melee weapon, but they actually really got this one right. This has made me actually enjoy melee in this game, and I'm someone who's been pretty outspoken against melee for a long time. Next up, we have the RS-40 Beast of Prey armor set. This is definitely my favorite armor set in this Warbond and in this whole update in general. I mean, just look at it. It's so fucking cool. It's big and bulky, just like heavy armor should be, and it's covered in pouches and assorted little tactical bits that just make it stand out and make it look more trooper-like, you know what I mean? And from behind, it almost looks Space Marine-esque. Not exactly, but the silhouette kind of reminds me of that look, you know? And the helmet is great too. It reminds me of an Imperial Snowtrooper from Star Wars or one of the Galactic Marines. They wear similar helmets, so it kind of looks like that without the little cowl coming down from the face. I am once again asking for color customization. I need more colors for the helmets in this game. They just look too damn good, and I want to start comboing different things together. I want to paint this helmet gray and wear it with my siege ready armor, you know, shit like that. I need that really bad. So this is obviously a heavy armor set. I already gave that away, and of course it has the same passive as the previous armor set. I think that this passive combos really well with heavy armor as opposed to light armor. Usually with light armor you're just gonna die if you take a really bad direct hit, but with heavy armor you could possibly tank it and stay standing with this passive. So of course I recommend this armor set. I love heavy armor, and this is one of the best looking armor sets we have ever gotten in my opinion. Plus the passive is really damn good, especially if you're a fan of melee, so yeah, this is just a nice solid armor set. And there's not much else of note on page 2, so I'll just show off the vehicle patterns here. It's just a classic camo pattern. There's really not much to talk about with this one, but I do think it's pretty cool. I don't know what exact camo pattern this is in real life, but it reminds me a lot of the woodland weapon camo from COD 4, if anyone remembers that. It looks pretty much the same to me. If anyone can tell me what this camo is actually called in real life, then let me know in the comments. Time for page 3, and on page 3 we have, of course, the Python Commando title. It's a title, alright. Just like Viper Commandos and Servants of Freedom, you get the name of the Warbond as a title, which is a little uninspired in my opinion, but if you like it, then you like it, you know, go ahead and enjoy it. Next up, we have the M1000 Maxi Gun. This is another weapon that we have been waiting for a long time. The maxi gun is a belt-fed, portable minigun that feeds directly off of the backpack that comes with it. No reloading, just straight feeds from the backpack into the gun, which is a first for Helldivers 2. The maxi gun deals 80 damage with medium armor penetration, and it comes with 750 rounds in the backpack by default. That is an incredible amount of damage that you can just spit out, and you can deal that damage incredibly fast. It is so much fun to just mow down a giant group of enemies, especially when they can all be damaged by the maxi gun. It can make quick work of dozens of medium and smaller enemies at once. But there is one major downside to the maxi gun. It cannot be used while moving. If you try to shoot the maxi gun while moving, you will simply stop moving and begin shooting. You will not be able to move again until you stop shooting or you are knocked down. And it makes sense. It would be unadvisable to shoot a portable minigun when you're walking around, but it's something that you should be aware of. The firepower of the maxi gun definitely makes up for this small disadvantage. Not to mention that it also gets a full refill when you pick up an ammo box or a supply box. That is a big deal. 750 rounds resupplied with a single supply box, and you know, the ammo is not shitty either. 80 damage with medium pen, that's assault rifle tier. That can shred through some enemies really fast. Keep in mind that you also cannot team reload this weapon. I mean, there really wouldn't be any point to team reloading this anyways. You don't actually manually reload the weapon itself, you just fill up the backpack with ammo and it goes right into the gun, so it wouldn't even matter anyway. The maxi gun in general is a dream come true for a lot of Helldivers. Just make sure that you bring a vitality booster and preferably some heavy armor, because you're gonna take some damage when you try and use this thing. And finally, we have the front-leaning rest position emote. This is a great emote, definitely one of the most unique emotes in the game. You get down on the ground and start doing some push-ups. I gotta say that I love the naming convention for emotes in this game, you know, calling push-ups the front-leaning rest position, or the chest bump being called a thoracic collision exaltation maneuver. It's just very funny to me. And yeah, of course, this is a nice little emote, you know, nice to flex on people with. Now, I usually just review the Warbond, but I figured that this time around I'll also talk about the Superstore items for Python Commandos, briefly. There is the RS6 Fiend Destroyer armor set, the Double Freedom primary shotgun, and the Deforester's sailcloth cape. With these items, you can finally cosplay as the classic Doom guy. The armor set, and the helmet in particular, is definitely inspired by the Doom Marine armor. Plus, it's a medium armor set which fits in, you know, neatly with the other Python Commandos armor sets. And the Double Freedom is essentially just the super shotgun, but in Helldivers 2. It penetrates medium armor and it deals some pretty incredible damage per round. But of course, it's somewhat held back by the fact that it is a double barrel shotgun, but the damage is still superb, so it makes sense. So you can only fire twice before reloading, or you can set it to fire both barrels at once, which is of course the classic way to use the super shotgun. This is a really fun weapon and of course quite unique. It can also be absolutely devastating when you're up close, killing medium-sized enemies very quickly, plus the sound effects and the general feeling of the weapon is incredible. Definitely recommend picking this up when it's back in the Superstore. It's out right now. It's around 400 credits, I think, and I think that's worth it to expand your arsenal by one more weapon. In conclusion, Python Commandos is an incredible Warbond. You get a great primary and 3 great stratagems, not to mention 2 good armor sets and a brand new passive with a few decent cosmetics to go with it. It's a little light on straight up weapons. There's only one actual loadout weapon in the Warbond itself, but it's a pretty good one. And we also got 2 new support weapons with an awesome new backpack stratagem. So that is a big win in my book. The 1-2, the maxi gun, and the defoliation tool all do things that we have never seen before in Helldivers 2. And that's pretty huge, the fact that we got 3 really unique items. And of course, I think a lot of us were waiting for the hot dog, the flamethrower guard dog. It's really, really great, and it rounds out the guard dog family pretty well. I think that this Warbond will be remembered fondly for years to come. I think this is pretty far up there as far as the most fun Warbonds go. I recommend it to anybody who already has the essential Warbonds like Democratic Detonation. I don't think this should be your first Warbond, but damn, it's really, really fun, and if you need a minigun, if you absolutely need, like a minigun, underbarrel grenade launcher, chainsaw, then yeah, I recommend it to anybody looking for something fun to use in Helldivers 2. Righteous Revenants. Killzone has finally returned to Helldivers 2. The lost weapons have made their way back to the hands of the Helldivers, new players can take on the mantle of the Hellghast, and Killzone fans no longer need to have any FOMO about these items. They are here to stay forever. But is this Warbond actually any good? Well, we're gonna find out because we're getting started on page 1 with the AC-1 Dutiful armor set. Our first items in this Warbond are the most iconic items from the Killzone franchise. I think even people who haven't played Killzone like myself, they are sure to recognize the glowing red eyes of a Hellghast trooper. The body armor itself actually looks really awesome. I think that it fits right in with the rest of the armor sets in Helldivers 2. I think it looks very realistic and practical, and I'm a big fan of that, honestly. And of course, the iconic Hellghast helmet looks great. They did not skimp out on the glowing red eyes, and I just love a good gas mask in general. And I definitely love the World War II looking helmet. That is a helmet that makes you think that you're not a good guy, let's just say that much. This is a medium armor set with 100 armor, and it comes with the acclimated armor passive. This armor passive reduces the damage you take from all sources of elemental damage, including fire, gas, acid, and electrical damage. This is a really good alternative to the Desert Stormer passive from Dust Devils. You simply trade the throwing distance for more pure resistance against the elements. This passive is great if your teammates are bringing all sorts of elemental damage and they have a habit of accidentally killing you. But as far as the enemies go, the bugs are the only faction that can actually use two types of elemental damage at the same time, currently. Bile Spewers can hit you with acid attacks, and the Dragon Roaches can hit you with fire. So this passive is pretty good on worlds that are being raided by Dragon Roaches. It will help you survive a number of different enemy encounters. I hope that in the future there will be more enemies that use elemental damage, like bots using gas or the Illuminate using fire or something like that. That would make this passive and the Desert Stormer passive much better for general use. Overall, this is a pretty decent armor set with a pretty decent passive, and of course, if you're a fan of Killzone, you're gonna want to own this armor set. It's iconic, it's cool, and even as someone who's not a fan of Killzone, I think the armor looks really cool. Next up, we have the STA-52 Assault Rifle. Once upon a time, the STA-52 had the largest magazine size out of any assault rifle, and that was the main reason to use it. But unfortunately, this weapon has been almost completely outclassed by the Liberator Carbine, and even the Liberator itself can hold a larger magazine than this thing, and the Liberator Penetrator. If you compare the stats of the STA-52 to my own Liberator Carbine build, the STA-52 has barely anything to offer. It has 2 less horizontal recoil, and 1 degree less of bullet spread. That's it. They fire the exact same ammo, but the Liberator Carbine has more capacity, better fire rate, and better overall recoil, and you can customize it. If we're being practical here, the Liberator Carbine is almost downright an upgrade in every way, as long as you build it correctly. And it's a real shame. The STA-52 is a really awesome gun design, it's sexy as fuck, and it should be performing a lot better than it is right now. I'm actually really surprised that they didn't buff this weapon at all with the release of this new Warbond. It's a shame, it's a damn shame. If we take a look at the MA5C from the ODST Warbond, that weapon at least has something to offer when compared to the other assault rifles. It does certain things better than other assault rifles, and it has its own place in the sandbox of Helldivers 2. But as it stands currently, The only reason to pick up the STA-52 is if you're a fan of Killzone, or if you need something to spend medals on and you're bored. Or you don't have Viper Commandos. But if you don't have Viper Commandos, then you shouldn't be spending money on this Warbond in the first place, frankly. Arrowhead, please buff this weapon. It's really cool and I want to see it be good, and I think that the Killzone fans deserve a good assault rifle. Again, if you put the weapon in a vacuum and judge it on its own merits, it's not a terrible weapon. It can get the job done and it's also fun to use. But when there are other weapons that are downright better, that needs to be addressed, and I hope Arrowhead comes out with a buff for these weapons pretty soon. Our last items on page 1 are the Strengthen Our Arms cape and the Strengthen Our Arms card. And I don't usually talk about cosmetics in my Warbond reviews because I'm frankly not artistically talented and I don't think I'm a good critic of these things, but this Warbond is pretty light on content, so I do have some time to talk about it. The Strengthen Our Arms cape is pretty damn cool. Not only does it look good to me as a non-Killzone fan, but this is actually the flag of the Helghast themselves. The Helghast Triad is the name of the flag. And I know that this will have some significance to fans of the franchise, and it will definitely cement you as a bad guy. The card is pretty cool too. It also bears the Helghast Triad, and it's nice that they have that on a card, but I was raised as a Helljumper myself, and my honored heirloom is never coming off. We're moving on to page 2, and on page 2 we have the Plaz 39 Accelerator Rifle. Now here's a fun fact for you. The Accelerator Rifle was actually the first weapon to ever be classed as a primary sniper rifle in the armory. This was changed and the weapon was moved to the energy-based category earlier this year, and we have never seen another weapon enter the defunct sniper rifle category since then. The Plaz 39 Accelerator Rifle is a very unique weapon. You charge it up to fire, and when you let go of the trigger, it shoots 3 high-powered plasma rounds, dealing 250 damage on impact and another 100 damage with a small area of effect. One thing that plasma weapons always do well is durable damage. This is when a weapon's armor penetration matches an enemy's armor class, like medium pen hitting medium armor, for example. Most weapons in this game will lose most of their damage in this situation, but plasma weapons typically only lose half. The Plaz 39 deals a lot of damage with a single burst, usually killing most medium-sized enemies right away. You know, think Devastators and Berserkers. This weapon can kill them pretty fast. But this weapon has 2 massive problems. You can only fire 3 bursts before you need to reload, so you're gonna have a really hard time fighting a large group of smaller enemies, for example, with this weapon. And the reload time takes way too long for it to be effective in close quarters, and it's honestly a huge hindrance in general. If you're gonna use this weapon, you absolutely need to use Siege Ready or Reinforced Epaulettes, because the reload speed is terrible, and you should bring something capable of dealing with chaff enemies like a Stalwart or something like that. This weapon isn't nearly as terrible as it used to be, but it really needs a reload speed buff. That would make it so that it's much more fun to use, and it would be good for the balance of the weapon in general. But hey, at least it has its own role in the sandbox instead of being totally outclassed. That is something to celebrate. Next up, we have the AC2 Obedient armor set. This is one of the most visually distinct armor sets in all of Helldivers 2. The main body armor looks pretty badass. It's like a low-profile body armor with half of a trench coat bolted to the torso, and I think it looks really good, to be honest. And the helmet definitely makes you look like a bad guy if the armor didn't. At a glance, you straight up look like a robot or a cyborg or something. And I know that some of you will say that that's heresy or whatever, but I think we can let this one slide. This is a light armor set with 50 armor, and of course it also comes with the acclimated passive, so I don't need to repeat myself on that one. I'll be honest, I'm not a huge fan of light armor, personally. I prefer medium and heavy armor a lot more, especially if I'm taking a passive like acclimated that's meant to reduce the damage I'm taking. Other passives like Scout or engineering kit, or even integrated explosives, those are perfect for light armor in my opinion. and this isn't something that I would like to use on my own. But again, that's just a matter of opinion. If you like this combo, then that's great, and if you're a fan of Killzone, then I'm sure you're gonna get a kick out of owning this armor set regardless. Next up, we have the Defender of Our Dream cape and the Defender of Our Dream card. I couldn't find out what exactly inspired this design. Again, I'm not an expert on Killzone. Maybe it was the original Helghast triad, I have no idea. But if any Killzone fans recognize this symbol, let us know what this is in the comments because I'm kinda curious. The cape is pretty damn cool. As a Canadian, I really love the combination of red and white, except I get to roleplay as a bad guy with this cape instead because no Canadian ever did anything wrong. The player card is the standard affair. It shares the same design as the cape, like they usually do, but again, my ODST stuff is never coming off. The cape, though, does fit really well with the Inspector armor set, so I think that is a pretty cool addition for those of you that like Truth Enforcers. Time for page 3. And on page 3 we have the Assault Infantry title, of course. In Killzone, the Assault Infantry are the iconic Helghast soldiers, the same ones that wear what we know as the AC-1 Dutiful armor set, and that is a pretty cool reference to the original material, and the icon you get along with the title represents that perfectly. I used to run this title all the time before the ODST Warbond was released, just because I thought it was a cool title, but it's nice to know that there is some meaning to it as well. I just hope that it didn't appropriate the culture of Killzone fans. Next up, we have the STA-11 SMG. The STA-11 SMG is in a weird place. It actually does have its own place in the sandbox of Helldivers 2. It's not useless. Unless you have the Super Citizen Edition like I do, then we're looking at the same situation that we had with the STA-52 assault rifle. My build for the Knight from the Super Citizen Edition fires the same ammo with faster fire rate, better recoil, higher ammo capacity, better ergonomics, and you can customize it. So the STA-11 is actually pretty good if you don't have the Super Citizen Edition, but if you do, then the Knight is downright better in almost every single way. The only thing that the STA-11 actually does better is weapon sway, which might be important to some people, but on paper, and in theory, and in practice, the Knight is just better. The STA-11 itself has a super awesome design. It's a strange mix between a PP-19 Bison and an Uzi submachine gun. It's a really fun design for a fictional weapon, and I like it a lot. It's like weird and industrial and scrappy, and it's really cool. I think that they need to give this thing better ammo, though. It should deal slightly more damage than the Knight if the Knight is going to be better in every single way. Still, if you don't have the Super Citizen Edition, then this is a good option for a rapid-fire SMG that you can use one-handed. So it's not like this is a terrible weapon, because it's not a terrible weapon, but it actually makes an argument that the Knight could be seen as pay-to-win. And Arrowhead should probably do something about that, because this is a good SMG that I personally can't bring myself to use regularly because I have a better option because I paid extra for the game. There's something really wrong with that, I think. You know, 2 of the weapons in this Warbond can be downright replaced by other better weapons. That's pretty fucked up, and one of those weapons is only obtainable if you spend another $20 in the game. That needs to be fixed. And finally, I guess I'll show off the vehicle patterns, because there's really not much else of note in this Warbond, and they're actually really cool. I'm not sure how these relate to Killzone. I honestly think that these might not have been intended for the Killzone Warbond in the first place. They may have just developed these patterns and then repurposed them for this Warbond, but I could be wrong. And I really like this kind of camo. I used to run a camo like this all the time back in Modern Warfare. You know, Modern Warfare, the first one, the 2019 one, but I can't remember for the life of me what it was called. These are actually the only new items in the Warbond, which is somewhat disappointing, but it's definitely one of the cooler vehicle patterns in the game. So yeah, I approve of it. In conclusion, Righteous Revenants is unfortunately very overpriced to the average player when compared with other Warbonds. And it makes sense. This is a crossover. This is more of like a collectible kind of thing. It's meant for Killzone fans and I guess completionists. but 1,500 credits for a grand total of 16 items, including 3 weapons and 2 armor sets. It's not a great price. You could say the same thing about the ODST Warbond, but at least that one had 4 weapons instead of 3 weapons, and the weapons are, I think, generally better, and that goes a long way when discussing the overall value of the Warbond. The worst part about this is how they handled distributing this Warbond to people who already had the Killzone items. If you purchased any items during the Killzone Superstore from last December, then you got the Warbond for free, which is great and I'm glad they did that. But anyone who didn't purchase anything and only received the free items didn't get this Warbond for free. And this Warbond includes the free items as unlockables. So if you didn't buy anything from the Killzone Superstore and you had the free items, you are paying 1,500 credits for 1 weapon, an armor set, a cape, a card, and vehicle patterns. It's still better priced than the Superstore was, but that is a low bar, and they really should have given this Warbond away to anyone who owned Killzone items. It's not fair to ask people to pay so much for so little, especially in a game that is known for having fair prices and a great business model. Imagine paying 1,500 credits for a Warbond that you already have half of the items in. You already have 2 out of the 3 weapons in the Warbond. That's ridiculous to me. I don't understand what their plan was here. My main problem with the contents of the Warbond itself, discounting price and discounting the business model, is that the weapons all have some kind of problem. Like, and the fans of Killzone, I think, deserve better than that. They haven't gotten a new game in like 12 years. You can at least make their weapons good. But other than that, I really like the armor sets, and the armor sets are at least different from one another. The ODST Warbond has 2 armor sets that are functionally identical. So in terms of armor sets, I gotta admit that the Hellgast kind of beat the Helljumpers in this one, so I'll give you that. I can really only recommend this Warbond to fans of Killzone, or people like me who want to own all of the items in the game, or people that have thousands of credits saved up and they want something new to unlock, or fucking rich people. I don't know, man.